Ndirango Mwangi. Okay? So you go there, Ndirango Mwangi, Mwangi Ndirango. Sounds the same, looks the same.
Right.
And somehow, the NHIF official is confused into thinking, well, this is just a switch of names. Ndirango Mwangi and Mwangi Ndirango, same person. But kumbe, one is father, one is son. I'm not saying that this is the case that happened here, but this is...
That's how it could
happen. A
senior
civil servant goes to hospital, gives his father the card to go and use it in hospital. NHIF look, they process. The man dies. On record, it is Mwangi Ndirango who has died, and not Ndirango. Well, no, Mwangi Ndirango is the one who has died. Ndirango Mwangi is the one who's covered. So they start processing because Ndirango Mwangi is a member. Ndirango Mwangi comes and says, wait, it is Mwangi Ndirango who died, not me.
Not me.
Me, I'm still alive. I'll still continue contributing. I'll use the card next month or something if I need to. A man was also billed for a major surgery, and around the same time, he had several claims for other ailments, thus exposing the fictitious claims. The CEO said some hospitals present claims of major surgeries when a patient has undergone a minor procedure. The sad bit is that we lose 20% of our collections from our members to fraudulent and fictitious claims. 20%. We already have 19 active cases in court for the hospital owners and some of the people who are raising the fake claims.
So there are people who are raising these claims based on the knowledge that either names are similar or that an individual has passed. How do they get to use a card of another individual, for example, if the names are not similar? It's very odd to me.
So there are several cases. I think even what they're saying is mostly it is the health facility itself.
Who's allowing it, right? It's an inside.
Who's also playing the games.
Right, inside job.
Who's playing the games. But they know full well, so one card is in the system, so they just start billing the card from various places.
Sheesh.
It's crazy. It's a lot of money. How many people are contributors to NHIF? 10 million principal contributors. Okay? And then another 13 million are now their dependents. So 23 million people are covered by NHIF in total. How much money is collected between 2019 and 2020? 59 billion shillings.
Oof.
That's how much they collected as NHIF. 60 million, the total cases of diseases reported in health facilities in 2020. 60 million hospital visits recorded. 7,666 number of healthcare providers under the NHIF's panel. And how much do they have? Contributions, formal and informal sectors, 38.2 billion. Enhanced schemes, 16 billion. Linda Mama program that comes from the government, 1.4 billion. This is for the free maternity. Sponsored programs, 1.3 billion. This is quite some money that they have. And with all this, when you say that 20% of this is lost through fraud, that's a
huge number. That's a huge amount.
Yep.
For sure.
It's a big, big amount of money.
So, you've been asking what's been happening at Kenya Power. Well, it seems that the EACC wants to know as well. They've been summoned by the EACC in a fresh tender probe. Well, this is just one angle, one side of the things that are happening at Kenya Power. The anti-corruption watchdog has summoned non-executive board members of the troubled electricity distributor Kenya Power to record statements over a fresh procurement scandal that has rocked the utility company. In a letter to KP during board chairperson Vivian Yeda, Ethics and Anti-Corruption boss Twali Mbarak wants Ms. Yeda alongside 8 others to appear before its officers between Tuesday and Thursday this week. The commission is investigating allegations of interference in procurement processes by the board of directors. To process the investigation, kindly facilitate the below-listed members of the board of directors to appear before our investigators at Integrity Center offices for interview and statement recording. So, Ms. Yeda and the other board members summoned are Abdul Larak Ali, Caroline Kitoni, Joroge Muhu, Elizabeth Rogo, Cairo Thor, Sachin Gudka, Isaac Kiva, and Humphrey Moho. The summons come weeks after the board pushed out the utility's chief executive officer, Bernard Gogi, before the end of his term after a stormy meeting in August. Gogi was the 4th CEO whose tenure has been cut short at the company in the past 4 years as the parastatal hopped from one scandal to another. And it doesn't end just yet. So, anomalies in procurement and the board has been called in to answer these questions. It doesn't look like the woes of KP are ending anytime soon.
My goodness.
130 billion shillings is the amount that Kenya Power used to rake in revenues before it sank into a loss-making business. 130 billion shillings, the kind of money that they used to make. And now the question is, where is it all gone?
So the EACC has summoned the entire board?
Yes, well, not the entire board, but certain members of the board. Of these ones that have been called, including the chair. Right?
Sound like the full board. Are they like 7?
Yeah, it's actually 7. It's the full board.
That's it.
It is a full board. So everybody come and explain to us these anomalies in procurement. And this is fresh. This is not something that happened 3 years ago that we're trying to dig up. This is fresh. After she took over the board last November, she had promised to initiate changes to clean the mess left by her predecessors. She served as the Director General of the East African Development Bank before her appointment to the Kenya Power Board and said the company's previous scandals were enabled by a lack of institutional controls. It seems as if this particular scandal that the EACC is asking about happened after she was appointed.
Okay.
Yeah, this is doesn't look too pretty.
Okay. Before we take a break, now that you mentioned EACC, remember Governor Anne Waiguru?
I remember her.
Last week, and talking about how she feels that because of her political stand, the state agencies have been unleashed on her.
Yes.
Because of saying what she's saying and what she's thinking politically. Now she had been summoned to the EACC last week. She's not the only one from Mount Kenya. The other one is National Assembly Speaker Justin Muthui, who's hitting out at state agencies that he claims are threatening and intimidating leaders with opinions contrary to Jubilee parties. Muthui is claiming that KRA have indicated they will scrutinize his tax records after he declared his presidential bid. And he's saying, this is politically instigated. We will not be intimidated, he said. I told them I'm open for scrutiny and I have nothing to fear. You can intimidate some people, but not all. Threatening people with opening files and investigations should stop, and I'll stand with the leaders who are being intimidated for supporting me. It's infringing on the democracy of Kenyans when a section of leaders using government machinery like the EACC and the ODPP, among others, intimidate those with a contrary political opinion. What's happening here?
Why is it always cause of intimidation? Why is it that when somebody is summoned to ask or answer questions about what they do or do not have, or what they may have or may not have earned or paid in terms of a tax, that the only reason why that process is being held is because somebody's putting the street in somewhere? Why is that the first port of call that people run to and hide under and say, you know what? It's because of my political stance. It's because of my political ambitions. So somebody's trying to shut me down. Why is that the first port of call?
But
every
also,
time?
is it indicative of the fact that you also know that probably when you're in the good books, there were things that you were doing that were untoward? Yes? But you were getting covered.
Right. So now
because you were in the good books. Now, because you are in the wrong books, you know very well that the things that you were doing in the dark
will
are
come to
coming
the
to
light.
light. And you're complaining and starting to scream and kick. Why would it be a problem if KRA says, okay, well, you want to be president, let's start the job early. You're going to be declaring your wealth anyway.
You might
so
as well
let's
do it
start.
now.
Yeah, let's just start early. Tell us how much you own, how much you've been paying, what you've been doing. EACC is saying, come, let's look at your ethics and your background. What's the problem?
Why should it be a problem?
Unless you know
uncomfortable.
There's something that you know and you're not saying, just say it. Okay? If you want to be president, just be honest. 12 minutes to 7. Very good morning to you. Let's take a quick break.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM. 102.5 Spice FM, Kisumu. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings.
More headlines.
So, this whole truck driver situation, when it came to COVID, those at the border, whether it was on this side, western, or it was on this side, going east, coming in from Tanzania. So their fears, COVID-19 fears, as testing centers, especially at the borders, have done what? They've run out of reagents. The last time truck drivers in Mombasa were tested for COVID-19 was a month ago, raising fears of a silent epidemic in the cargo sector. So now these are those coming off the port, right? Kenya Transporters Association Administrator Walter Misama said they were concerned that this might endanger the lives of Kenyans as the country grapples with a surge in cases of the Delta variant. Miritini is the loading point, and all drivers coming in from the port must pass through here. We reminded the Ministry of Health, but they told us that they had run out of reagents. So we said, look, folks need to be tested. Ministry of Health said, sorry, we don't have. They have, however, been testing drivers at Maimahiu and Malaba. Still, they don't do it at the loading point, and this is a big challenge that will water down our collective fight against the pandemic. The association raised concerns last week via a tweet, but it's yet to receive any response. We are now at day 21 since the last test was conducted at Miritini, one of the busiest COVID-19 truck drivers testing centers. So no tests have been going on for at least 3 weeks. Timing of tests and duration upon which tests were relayed played a key role for this center. And the question is, what is going on according to the KTA? In the grand scheme of things, we are concerned that the reason for lack of testing reagents and testing equipment is more of an excuse than anything else. The KTA has faulted a recent decision by the KPA to relax COVID-19 protocols by going back to the use of biometrics. So they're saying this is the busiest in the country and we've not tested for at least 3 weeks because we don't have the equipment, we don't have reagents, and it's possible that things could go south.
Police are in a spot.
Again.
Spot never leaves the police anyway, does it? So listen to this number of cases, okay? Just last week, on the 8th of September, a businessman called Abdulwahab Sheikh Abdisamad. He is a prominent expert on the affairs of the Horn of Africa. He's actually Dr. Abdulwahab Sheikh Abdisamad. Went missing. He was picked up by 4 men and forced into a double cabin pickup at Tubman Road in Nairobi. Since then, missing. 4 people forced into a double cab pickup in the middle of Nairobi CBD has gone missing. His family is still waiting to know his whereabouts. In Lamu, Yassir Mohammed Ahmed, a 44-year-old ambulance driver, is missing after being abducted by security agents in a car with government number plates. In Mombasa, businessman Abdul Hakim Sagar is unaccounted for since August 18th, when suspected anti-terror security agents snatched him as he was heading home from the mosque. In Garissa, 11 unknown bodies were retrieved from River Tana over the last 3 months, some with torture marks and ropes tied around the hands. These alarming abductions of Muslims and others and grisly scenes of bodies washing up on rivers across the country have alarmed the Muslim community and the wider Kenyan public in recent days. The president of the Law Society of Kenya, Nelson Harvey, called the rising cases of abductions intolerable crimes. On Friday, the chair of the Supreme Council of Kenya Muslims, Hassan Olenado, and the Jamia Mosque Deputy Secretary General Hussein Abd Nasir led a Muslim delegation to meet with the Director of Criminal Investigations, George Kinoti, and voiced their concerns over the flurry of Muslim abductions by security forces in Nairobi and in Mombasa. Mr. Kinoti has committed himself and has actually said in the next few days, in the next 1 week, he's going to get back to us on the level of the investigations that they have been able to undertake within that period. This is what the SUPCAM chair said, Olenado, expressing optimism that they are going to receive a full comprehensive report. Are they going to receive a full comprehensive report in 5 days? That actually, report is one thing. We just want to know, where are our loved ones?
Yeah,
can we see them? Can we visit them?
Even if they've been arrested with good cause.
Yep.
Can you show that, this is the case? We're waiting we're doing investigations, we're charging. And I think that's the thing. And a lot of, last week we looked at that story also.
Yep.
When this young gentleman who had disappeared, then we found out that he was a member of ISIS. And then his parents were a bit worried. But you see now, there you know where the individual is. Upon that, you can now make a decision, right? Or you can now take the next course of action.
Yeah.
Should you not know, that's when it becomes very
It's a
worrying.
problem.
It's a problem.
Remember the family of Wanyea Kinothia in Watamu?
Yeah.
The one whose brother was abducted somewhere in Lamu. Was arrested by anti-terror police. He was brought to Nairobi. He was taken to court. The court said, release him. Police said, we released him. But family has not seen him. And there's no CCTV footage at the gates of the anti-terror police unit in Upper Hill showing that this is it. We have actually released the man. You see him walking?
Yeah, there he is.
Nothing.
We let him go.
Nothing. And they were still been looking for their brother. These cases are not a joke.
They aren't a joke. But I think also coming to the realization that, look, it is possible that the individuals who've gone missing may have been involved in something, right? It's also possible that individuals who've been picked up are innocent.
Yep.
Or they may have disappeared for any other reason which we do not know.
Maybe it's not even police who picked
Maybe
them
it's
up.
not police. Maybe it's thugs. Maybe it's kidnapping for ransom. We don't know.
Yeah.
But those that the police might have, tell them that we've picked up this person because they're a suspect in 1, 2, 3. We have reason to believe that A, B, C, D had happened. Tell them what is going on.
And even those that have not been arrested by police, it's the job of the police to find out.
Find them.
To investigate and say, all right, so this is all we have so far. This person, apparently, so the vehicle that we see, we have the CCTV footage that was erected by Safaricom all around Nairobi. We can see, we can track. So this is the double cab pickup. This is the registration number. It's registered to so and so. We've been tracking this car. We have found it. We have not found it. The people who are here, these are not police officers. Who are they? You know, police can actually, we've said this very many times. If police want to find you,
They can find you.
they will find you.
Yeah, absolutely.
They will find you. So, yes, DCI Kinoti has some work to do here because he must really tell people where are their loved ones. People can't just disappear
And too many missing. Too many missing over a short period of time to keep quiet. You know, I think the number that we were looking at was close to 81, 91 in a year.
Those are many.
There's
a story here. Where is this? Is this story? Yes. Page 3 of The Nation today. It talks about 3 teachers. One of them is Dr. Violent Otieno, who has a PhD in early childhood development education. And the other one is Dr. John Timon Omwenga, who has a PhD in education psychology. And both of them are teachers. Okay? They have PhDs in education, and both of them are teachers. As expected, right?
Right.
It's a good thing, right? So here's a twist to this story. Dr. Violet Otieno, who has a PhD in early childhood development, is a teacher at Lake Primary School in Kisumu County, where she is teaching grade 1. Are we together?
How? Okay.
Are we together? The other one, Dr. John Timon Omwenga, who has a PhD in education psychology, is in Rabur Primary School in Sondu, Kisumu County, where he is the headmaster.
What's going on?
Dr. Mwanga is 50 years old. Let's start with the story of this one, of Dr. Violet Otieno, okay? The Nation caught up with the scholars. Where is the story of Dr. Akinyi starting? Okay, let's go with Dr. Akinyi. Dr. Akinyi was employed in 2003 by the Teacher Service Commission as a P1 teacher at Anjech Primary School in Homa Bay County, where she taught for a year before she was transferred to Atela Primary School in the same region. In 2013, she moved to Kisumu County, where she taught at Sondu Union Primary School and is currently a grade 1 teacher at Agai Primary School in Nyakach Sub-County. I am a PhD in early childhood, where primary school falls, and I already have a job. But if other opportunities, for instance, the Ministry of Education, ICD, I would love to move. I've tried applying for all these jobs in vain, and I have no option but to be here in primary school. About 40 kilometers from Dr. Akinyi's station is Dr. Omwenga, the deputy head teacher of Rabur Primary School in Nyando Sub-County. He revealed that many of his pupils and their parents are surprised that there is a doctor teaching. So the parents come and say, you're a doctor, you should be in hospital.
Right.
She's like, no.
Not that kind of doctor.
I'm a doctor PhD.
Yeah.
Okay. Sometimes this title is a curse, he says, because when he's meeting with some of his bosses, many of whom do not have the kind of level of education that he has, he has to be very, very careful about how he contributes to conversations. Because people look at him like, unalete ujuaji yako na PhD hapa. You have got to remember you're the deputy head.
It's a curse to be educated to this level.
Yep.
And there are those who may be in positions of authority over you and may not be as educated as you are. But it strikes me as a bit funny that they can't get work in a sector which clearly needs as much expertise as they do have.
They're in that
beyond
sector.
what they have.
They're in that sector. So you're talking about the education sector.
Yeah, but
They need.
we're talking about levels of now the
In
implementation of
KICD,
certain
KICD
programs.
is awash with PhDs.
They've applied, they can't get jobs.
Imagine.
So they stick to this.
Stick to teaching grade 1 with a PhD. Good morning. It's now 7 a.m. PhD.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Education is expected to resume in Olmoran area of Laikipia County after a directive was issued by Interior CS Dr. Fred Matiang'i, assuring parents and locals that their children will be secured. This after security officers who have been conducting operations in the area in search of the bandits assured the locals of their security. According to Laikipia Head of Education Josephine Thuranira, about 25 schools were affected. Matiang'i vowed to provide adequate protection for all the affected schools.
We will protect the teachers, and the teachers who are working here can be assured that we will patrol the areas around the schools, and when the school time ends in the afternoon at 4:30, our team jointly with the KPR will walk along the way. In any case, none of these kids come from very far away.
The youth have been urged to guard against being indoctrinated against teachings that border on hate and intolerance. Speaking in Malindi, Islamic scholars asked the youth to understand the true doctrines and to stay away from what is meant to create division. Let's listen in.
Mtu asipofahamu itikadi yake vyema anaweza akapotoka na akapotoshwa na huku akijua kwamba hivi ndivyo sawa, na wakati pengine anapewa mafundisho si sahihi.
Mtoto akiwa hana kazi hata iliwa na mawazo mabaya haya na haya, atatafuta bangi au ndio itamsahauzisha, atatafuta wanawake, atatafuta ulevi, lakini akijijua mimi nina dini yangu na nafanya kazi yanisaidia, ni rahisi sana kumweka wema yule mtoto.
Police are detaining a 34-year-old man who allegedly beat and killed his wife after he was found drunk in a Changa den in Jera Village, Taya County. According to detectives, Kevin Onyango arrived at the scene and started beating his 42-year-old wife until she passed out before carrying her on a wheelbarrow and rushing her home, where she was reported to have died shortly afterwards. The suspect remains in custody at Siaya Police Station and is expected to appear in court later today. The government has been urged to present Abdi Wahab Sheikh Abdi Samad in court today. Leaders from Wajir, Mandera, Garissa and Marsabit have complained about the increase in kidnapping cases in the country, saying there is need for the government to protect its citizens. Ahmed Kolosh and Abdikarim Osman are MPs from Wajir West and Fafi.
When someone is kidnapped at that time of the day and at such a place, we cannot assume that it's anybody else, but it's the government's involvement. We have gathered here to urge government to produce Abduhab the soonest possible. Not soonest, should produce them immediately, so that if they have an issue with him, take him to court.
Mandera North MP Abdullahi Bashir wants DCI boss George Kinoti and Interior CS Dr. Fred Matiang'i to intervene.
Nairobi is covered by CCTV. Remember, there was an entire government project of CCTV coverage in the entire city, Nairobi and Mombasa. And so we expected them to be manning the national center and to know who did it and why is it happening.
I think Mr. Matiang'i, the CS for Interior and Kibichu, should take charge. Otherwise, should step aside if they cannot protect Kenyans.
How can somebody be abducted at 10 a.m. in the morning
in broad daylight in the center of the city. This is unheard of, and it cannot be allowed.
Anglican Archbishop Jackson Ole subpoenaed yesterday barred politicians from addressing congregants during the consecration of Bishop Rose Okeno in Butere. The ban caused ripples across the political divide, with leaders having mixed reactions over the same. We sought what Kenyans had to say, and this is what you said.
Neno la mtu mwenye anapeleka siasa kwenye kanisa, yeye anakosa adabu kwa sababu Yesu hakuwa anafanya siasa kwenye kanisa. Kama unaenda kanisa, enda omba Mungu wako, shukuru Mungu, lakini sio kwenda kutafuta biashara nyingine ndani ya kanisa. Ajua ya kwamba wanasiasa pia ni Wakristo, lakini wanataka pia kutimiza ndoto yao ya siasa.
Hapo kanisani kila mtu ako na maono yake ya kisiasa. Sasa tukienda huko kanisani ni kama tunaforce watu kufanya vitu zenye hawataki.
Wanasiasa ukiwakataza kwenda kanisani ama kuzungumza kanisani, itakuwa kwamba wengi wao wanaweza kukataa kuchangia makanisa.
Internationally, and a record number of activists working to protect the environment and land rights were murdered last year, according to a report by a campaign group. 227 people were killed in 2020, the highest number recorded for a second consecutive year. Almost a third of the murders were reportedly linked to resource exploitation, logging, mining, large-scale agribusiness, hydroelectric dams, and other infrastructure. On to sports, and Karim Benzema scored a hat-trick as Real Madrid twice came from behind to beat Celta Vigo in their first match at the Bernabeu in 560 days. Benzema scored either side after Santa Mina had given the visitors the lead on 4 minutes. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto.
Okay, traffic this morning has built up quite some on Langata Road. We're looking at that connection then between the Nyayo Stadium roundabout heading out into the city via Uhuru Highway, and it's already very slow. Aerodrome connecting with that, also connecting at the Bunyala Road roundabout, is taking some time to get out of. So that's one to watch. If you're coming in from the city and then trying to connect with Mombasa Road, probably best to go around into industrial area, out through Enterprise, and then connecting that way. Mombasa Road, however, inbound is already very slow today, heading out. We're keeping an eye on things and seeing what that looks like in a short while. Thika Superhighway, very slow, connecting with Muranga Road. That's tight until the Globe Cinema overpass. You're not getting through this one, and not anytime soon. Limuru Road as well, all the way from the village market, as then you approach Forest Road, is very, very slow this morning. That's what we're looking at. Monday morning traffic is building up as you're getting into and out of the city today. Use the bypasses, longer route, but we'll get there faster. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Let us know, are you stuck somewhere? Have you found a good route? Let folks know. Text us as well on 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your
7
day.
minutes after 7 on the 13th day of September 2021.
Well done.
Kenya's biggest conversation. In the room is Nduoko and Eric Latif. C.T. Muga is away today. Today. Yes, today he's away. Let me give you today's proverb. Today's Kamba proverb. Eni Kigamba, okay? Moyo ndotoa kilomoni. Moyo ndotoa kilomoni. Good taste does not remain on the lip. Happiness does not last. Or good times don't last.
I wish they did.
Moyoi ndotoa kilomoni.
Kilomoni. I wish it did, man.
You wish, huh? Who's online?
Quite a number of people. Denny Callow says, it looks like we're going back to the dark days of Nyayo. He's live from Baghdad this morning. But I guess in this whole disappearance of individuals is what he's talking about today. Soma Johnson is also tuned in. He's tuned in from Dubai. Tuned in is George Gola as well. Kirago Makoha is tuned in from Kabete. And Edna Edo is tuned in from Eldoret. Watching from Eldoret as well. Omondi Steve Omare is tuned in, as well as Captain Petra Nyamari. Israel Oburak is tuned in from Alberta in Canada. Franceline has a concern. She's saying, are you guys getting rid of CT Muka? No.
You ask him when he comes back.
When he comes back, ask him.
Is he trying to get rid of us? Hey. So, the headlines again. Nation. It's a rude shock for Raila and Mudavadi. Barred from the pulpit. Politicians was served a hard pill by Anglican Church of Kenya Archbishop Jackson Ole Sapit, who blocked them from addressing a gathering at a church function in Butere, Kakamega County. The cleric stood his ground, saying he wouldn't let the leaders hijack the function and turn it into a political affair. The Standard. Politics and church clash. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. Decision by Archbishop Ole Sapit to bar Raila Mudavadi from addressing congregation yesterday brings into focus the dilemma of church leaders whenever senior politicians are in attendance as next year's polls near. Now, then brings in the other. So what happened yesterday? Yesterday was the enthronement and consecration of a new bishop of Butere, okay? And in the Anglican Church. This ceremony and this event was being led by the head of the Anglican Church in Kenya, Archbishop Jackson Ole Sapit. It was a consecration of the new Reverend Rose Okeno as Bishop of Butere Diocese. There were local leaders in attendance, local church leaders, local political leaders in attendance. Among them, Raila Odinga was in attendance, Wycliffe Musalia Mudavadi was in attendance, and others. The Archbishop said, okay, so this is a church function. You all understand this is what's happening. We are only going to acknowledge the presence of the leaders without giving them an opportunity to speak. So that is what happened. And then, shortly thereafter, the leaders, one by one, stood and left. Did they leave or did they walk out?
When you say
those
walk
two
out,
are different.
those are different. Did they walk out in protest of the directive that they were given? Or did they say, look, our time here has come to an end. It's time for us to go. We have other engagements, etc., etc. What has been reported is that they were annoyed with this situation and decided to go. If we're not going to be given an opposition to speak, then we will leave. But it is said that they did leave when Right Reverend Okeno now was giving her appreciation remarks.
When the person, the reason for the function was
speaking after her consecration, when she was speaking is when she was making her acceptance speech. Let me just give you that.
Okay.
The politicians listened to the Archbishop's remarks and part of the acceptance speech from Bishop Okeno before leaving. As the function came to an end, Mr. Mudavadi, Mr. Wetangula and Lugari MP Ayub Savula left the dais, headed to their chopper parked a short distance from the venue of the church function. Mudavadi and Wetangula left in their chopper and headed for Muranga County for another church function, while Mr. Odinga flew to the home of Mr. Oparanya for lunch before heading to Vihiga County to meet the Vihiga Queens players of Sosa Cottages. After the politicians left, the crowds also started walking away, with the event ending immediately after Bishop Okeno made her acceptable speech.
Acceptance.
No, it's here. Accepted, but I'm sure they meant acceptance.
Acceptance, right?
So, it would appear from reports that there was some kind of ruckus. But from here, it's like, no, you know what?
Here's the thing. One thing is, for a fact, the function had not ended. Fact number one. Fact number two, that Wycliffe Musalia Mudavadi, Raila Odinga, Wycliffe Oparanya, Eugene Wamalwa, and other leaders who were here left before the function ended, including Charity Ngilu. There are photos here of them walking. They left before the function ended. So why were they leaving before the function ended?
They had other places to go.
It's because they are busy.
They had other things to do. Did you see? They had another church service in Murang'a. That was according to that. This was for Wetangula and Mudavadi. And then, Raila Odinga was going to Vihiga County after having lunch at Oparanya's house, where he was going to meet the Vihiga queens.
So are they feeling that this thing took too long? Longer than their time?
I don't know. It'd be interesting to see what was the reason why they left. If they had been given an opportunity to speak, Eric,
yes,
right? Would they have stayed longer, or would they have spoken and then left?
The Archbishop said this: "I beg to be understood that I will have to make the church what it is. The church has become the battleground of political fights." And he said, "I am not going to allow people to come and speak." ACK is shifting gears. Starting with this event, politicians will be addressing when the service has ended. The pulpit is for the clergy. ACK is a political no-go zone. He spoke there and he was speaking tough. So he's already said, once this whole thing is over, you guys can speak. It's not that he said you can't speak.
Not during the service.
Once the whole thing is finished, that's the time when you guys will speak. In my reading, and I'm just a casual nobody in this country, these people caught feelings and they left the gathering. Kama unataka kusema, it's like, it's like they felt that the Archbishop had given them a dressing down in front of their supporters.
Well, it was necessary.
Because he stood up to say, church will be church. We will not allow politicians to come here. You will not come here and bring your political battles. Because he could clearly see you're going to have political issues here. One left, the other guy is on the other side.
And Wetangula here, Raila Odinga
on the other side. Here. Yes, we're not going to give that space to this service. So they felt like they have been, when you go to church and the pastor is preaching and you feel like the sermon is really, really, really targeting you and you walk out. That's what they were feeling. That the Archbishop was targeting them and they left. You cannot convince me that somebody had a function in Murang'a and so they needed to leave. They had a helicopter right there. Why are you doing two functions anyway and this is the consecration of a bishop?
Yeah. See, now that's a thing.
Had you not asked, how long does the consecration of a bishop take? This is the Anglican Church, by the way. This is not those other churches. The Anglican Church, the order is very clear.
The order of service is actually clear.
There is no way there was a third song that was added somewhere. No. First song, the service is very clear and it is timed. This is how long it will take. So you can't say that it went longer than had been anticipated. No way.
I think, there's a possibility that they felt slighted and said, all right, you know what, since we're not going to speak anymore, we might as well leave early, which is okay. More importantly for me is that they saw this particular service as important for them to come and speak in a manner in which they wanted to. Because so many things were happening here of significance.
Yes.
The consecration and enthronement of Bishop Okeno, an opportunity for them to then come and join this event to certain political messages that they might have and use the significance of this to talk about whatever it is that they plan for the future of the country politically. All right? That didn't happen. And I think it is another reminder of your place in a political position regardless in this country.
Yes.
And I see Archbishop Olesapit reminding them, look, you can do whatever you want to do wherever. But on this ground, we will not allow you to do it. This is important. And if you ask, if we're going to talk about imagery, I'm going to say it like this. He's saying that here is something that's happening right now that is of great importance, that has allowed us to break certain, barriers that have been present forever. And then you want an opportunity to come and speak about things that essentially don't matter.
And
we're not going to
the
allow
whole
it.
thing.
We're not going to allow
Contextually,
it.
let's look
now
at it
look at other things that are happening in the country momentarily that need attention, that are important, but you want to come and politic. It's not allowed.
So let's look at it politically, from the political context. Raila Odinga makes a triumphant entry into Western Kenya. All right?
The day before.
Yes. And just before this, some leaders from Western had said, Raila has lost it in Western. Western is now different, blah, 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 blah. He can't even come here. He will not get anything. Raila comes in and says, they were saying I cannot come here. They're saying many things. Taka. That is what he was saying. So this was perfect and fertile ground for those two
to
meet and come and say, who is the king of Western? Is it the wing of Musalia Mudavadi and Moses Wetangula? Or is it Baba and
flanked by Oparanya?
Who is the king of Western? And of course, Jackson Ole Sapit is not a stranger to Jerusalem. He knows this is what was going to happen. And I think this was a very good thing. So the reason why you will not convince me, you will not tell me ati because Baba was now hungry and he felt, bwana Oparanya, ulisema kuna chakula. Tuende tukakule. Njai. No way. He left and went to Oparanya's house for lunch before proceeding elsewhere.
To Vihiga.
So you can't tell me that it was hunger that made Raila walk out before Bishop Rose Okeno had finished speaking. Or that it was because he needed to go to Muranga. That's the reason why Musalia went and boarded a chopper and just started making noise to everybody who has attended here. Chopper leaving, distracting people because he needed to go. If that was the case anyway, bad manners.
Yeah, let's say that you did that. That's actually bad manners. And if anything, it shows you what exactly it is. That this had nothing to do with, or rarely has anything to do with the important things that are happening on the ground in the country. It's about politics. I want to show you who is bigger than the other. I want to show you then who is more dominant than the other. And I have to say that not just in church, but other places and other arena where politics really comes in and wants to take over the day, when other things should be discussed, when other things should be given attention and importance. Actually, it's about time people stood up and said, you know what, this has its place, take it there. Take it there. And I've got to commend the man for saying, look, you know what, we're going to welcome you and recognize your presence here, but we'll not allow you to politic. It take away from the importance and the essence of what is happening here today. And I've been saying it. Actually, they should not. Because that message that you want to pass, how is it going to help? How is it helping this country today? That message that you want to show that actually, yes, I'm the kingpin of Western. Actually, no, you're not the kingpin of Western. Oh, okay, so then?
Ruben Kigame says, I'm a gospel musician, a preacher, as well as a presidential candidate. And I visit churches regularly, but I will not polarize the congregation by turning the pulpit into divisive space. I support what the Archbishop did to bar politicians from messing the service.
Look at it, Eric. And this is just one instance. There are very many instances, whether it is a funeral service. You can imagine the people who are mourning in bereavement. And then somebody wants to come and talk about who is bigger than who in what part of the country. And there are people who are left in the vacuum who are trying to bury their loved ones, right? Somebody is getting married. They're taking a solemnization vow. And then somebody wants to come and bring politics. That's what you're discussing on that matter. You are launching something extremely important for the country, and you have an opportunity to come and talk about what this will do for the country developmentally. But then you take the political skew and you remove all importance from that. Then today, you've broken barriers that have lived in the Anglican Church for centuries. You've finally given a woman an opportunity. You've elected a woman to lead on one of the fronts that has been so traditional in religion. The lessons that could have been gleaned from this yesterday, even if, look at it now, even as we're talking about it now, the lessons that could have been gleaned from this enthronement yesterday, what are we talking about? The fact that Raila Odinga and Musalia walked out. That's what we're talking about. But look at the very important thing that happened yesterday. All of that has been overshadowed by this. Imagine, still, they were not given an opportunity to speak. But we are talking about it today, that they walked out because they were not given an opportunity to speak. And we lost what happened yesterday.
The shattering of the glass ceiling. In that the people who came to attend this event, right, are the congregants of the Butere Diocese of the Anglican Church of Kenya, plus their neighbors, plus everybody else. They came to witness what they had just achieved.
Right.
They had voted in a woman to be their bishop. First in the country. It was big. And it's somebody they know. The people of the Diocese of Butere obviously know. The election and how the election happens, there are people who elect the bishops, yes, but everybody else knows and they participate in the conversations.
Right.
It was a big thing.
It was.
And
was
anyway,
a big thing.
there would still have been an opportunity for the political leaders to speak.
But they wanted the center stage when everybody was watching.
Asante sana Baba Askofu.
Yeah. You are here.
Yes.
Everybody else is here. They wanted that center stage. Not to talk about
Sisi tunasema
this.
hivi.
What are we doing every single time? I long for the day. If the habit had been that you use such opportunities to talk about the country and actually what the country is going through, not you as an individual and what you want to come and do should people give you the vote. Because what you're doing there is campaigning. There's nothing else. What you're doing there is campaigning. And I keep going to how many lessons lost? How many opportunities lost when you come and do things like this in a public setting or in a gathering where the significance of it was totally meant for something else?
Okay, but also let's now flip the coin a bit, all right? So, is it okay not to recognize local community leaders?
No, but they were recognized. They were recognized. And he even said it. He said it. Can I quote? They were recognized. We welcome everyone, and he recognized their presence. But we have to make the church be the church. We have many leaders in attendance who we shall just recognize. We recognize you. We understand your importance in the grand scheme of things. Yeah, but right now, today, something is happening. And we've got to give the honor that it's due. Not just today, every other day. You have other days to do this, not today.
But also, if you look at the way the Archbishop was speaking and the way we have heard other Archbishops and bishops and other leaders and clergy speak, it's like they want to say we own this space called the pulpit. Pulpit is our space.
It is now.
And we're going to exercise our power by making sure that we lock you out. So it's a power play as well. It's power play between the church leadership, the clergy, and the political leadership, the community leadership as well. The two leaders of the community who are very influential, religious and political, are clashing. It's unfortunate that they're clashing on the hallowed grounds of church, but they're clashing. Because they're saying the pulpit is hallowed ground.
Yes, had you not brought it here before, I would have no need to say this. And that's the thing. It's a place that was, a place of worship is a place that's open to everybody. But had you not abused it previously and used it in the manner in which you had, I wouldn't have to say this. Can you imagine if everybody just came, attended church, and then did what they needed to do, and then they left? For what it was meant for. But by the fact that by the time you have to say something like this repeatedly, it means that it has been abused over and over and over again to the point somebody has to say.
By the same clergy.
By the politicians who come in, yes, and the clergy who've given them an opportunity before to do this. And that's why he said, Ole Sapit in the first statement that he made a year ago, who was he addressing? He was not addressing politicians. He was addressing his own clergymen.
You know, I'm lifting my finger like this, like a politician. I want to say,
he was addressing his clergymen and said, do not allow these people to do this.
So you're saying you want to speak matters of God and the Bible when you're up there. Okay? Can you go and tell those members of the clergy you want to also dabble in politics? Right? Like the Reverend Canon Samuel Inaina of the All Saints Cathedral, not to talk about politics when at the pulpit. When you're preaching and you start bringing in BBI to your pulpit, when you're preaching and you start bringing in the Constitution, can you leave those ones to us? We are the politicians. You read the Bible, tell us about John and Paul and where they were going.
Which is part of everyday life.
Yeah, but do not bring politics into it. Don't bring today's politics into it.
Don't bring today's politics
when
into
the member
preaching,
of the clergy is standing there and preaching politics, they are then desecrating the same pulpit that they're talking about. Because me as a politician, I'll just come in and stand there and say, hamjambo, unajua tunaenda Canaan. Na baba askofu atatuombea ndio tufike Canaan. and then I'll sit down. You want to come here and say, good governance, why you electing thieves, or why you people now doing this, this BBI thing is taking us to the devil, this is...
I think you need to look at the place of... I think you need to look at the place of religion and religious teaching in everyday life. That it affects everyday life. It affects the decisions that you make. It affects the decisions that the voter then makes. It's part of your everyday life. And when you look at that, it doesn't matter which religion that you look at. Every religion that you look at is talking about how they will influence or how they can guide on the moral for everyday life, which includes politics.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So we're giving it's a guide that's being given in everyday life. And it's a guide.
Yes.
They don't stand on the pulpit and say, vote for such person.
No.
No, they don't. It's giving a guide for everyday life. How do you make a decision?
They don't vote for such kind of a person.
They don't do it?
They just say, don't vote for such kind of a person.
Who does?
Which is already saying, don't vote for such and such other person. You see, the argument I'm fronting here is, if the clergy will steer clear of politics of the day, then the politicians will come to church and they'll steer clear of that.
No, politicians unfortunately will not follow an example.
Politicians are given the opportunity to speak in church,
given an opportunity to follow an example that they never
tunataka
have.
kuwakumbusha kwamba tunaenda Canaan. Tunataka kuwakumbusha ya kwamba Kenya bado iko na shida nyingi. Na sisi tukiingia kwa serikali tutatatua hizi shida.
It would be nice. It would be nice really if they didn't have to be told. But rare is it that they will say, okay, you know what, I have an opportunity, but I'm actually not going to talk politics. Like you're saying, if the clergy were not discussing politics, then politicians also would come to church and not discuss politics. No, that's like asking a leaf not to be green when it's attached to a tree. No, there's nothing that they would do but that. But they're saying, in this place where you have come, in this place, do not then come and campaign. In a wedding ceremony, do not come and campaign. At a funeral service where we're supposed to be burying our dead, do not come and campaign. In a church service where people are supposed to be getting guidance about their life in a religious manner, do not come and campaign. Don't do it there, because that is their natural inclination. They'll say that, we understand that because we're in it. No, they're going to take every single opportunity that they have to politic.
It's just because when you see a politician speaking, you just think they're politicking. Sometimes they just wanted to say hello to they just wanted to say hello to the congregation.
No.
Let's take a break. 7:30. We'll pick your calls, and also we'll be reaching out to Archbishop Jackson Olesapit of the ACK Church. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
Losing a loved one is never easy. The lingering memories, the what-ifs, but in all the gloom, we find ways of celebrating them. And here at the Standard Tributes, we aim to give your loved ones that befitting send-off. Visit www.standardmedia.co.ke/tributes today and post your loved one's tribute. In addition, get access to funeral services from our trusted vendors. The Standard Tributes, keeping memories alive. In the quest of saving an ailing son, Sonia does the unthinkable. Will the guilt of her misdeeds haunt her, or will she come clean? Catch Mother's Guilt at 6 p.m. every Monday to Friday, only on KTN Home.
The opportunities are here. Project X, the biggest youth empowerment project in Africa for young creatives, is here. Are you a model, a fashion designer, or a performing artist? Then this is the opportunity you have been waiting for. Register now for the opportunity of a lifetime by following @Opportunities Are Here on Instagram and The Opportunities Are Here on Facebook for more information and the registration link. Online selections begin on the 12th of October and registration closes on the 22nd of October. The Opportunities Are Here is a project by the Ethical Fashion Initiative in partnership with the European Union. Project X is co-produced by KTN Home and Vibes Radio.
Gone are the days
when hiring should be about hitting the brick wall, because we understand how much it means to have the ideal candidate working for you and your organization. That's why at Standard Jobs website, we offer the complete employer dashboard that lets you interact fully with applicants, lets you track the full hiring process through a qualified specific smart search tool. What's more, we offer a full-on custom branded page that lets your company stand out with your own to choose custom page. So visit www.standardmedia.co.ke/jobs today and let's help you find the next ideal candidate for you.
Cloudy conditions in Nairobi at 15, highs of 24 today. We'll see highs of 25 in Nakuru. At 13, it's sunny at the moment. Light rain in Nyeri at 13, highs of 23. We will see highs of 28 in Kisumu. It's mostly sunny at the moment at 18. And in Kakamega, sunny conditions as well at 18, highs of 27 and lows of 15. Mombasa today is light rain this morning at 24, highs of 29 and lows of 23. We're looking at mostly sunny conditions in Malindi at 25. We'll go to highs of 28 and lows of 25. It's 20 and cloudy in Kampala, highs of 27 and lows of 17. Dar es Salaam is sunny at 23, highs of 30, highs of 26, and a sunny Joburg at 10. And Lagos is mostly clear at 26, highs of 29. We're looking at partly cloudy conditions at 21 in DRC Congo. Kinshasa specifically, highs of 33 and lows of 21.
Spice up your life.
All right, what to be expected on a Monday morning, jam-packed traffic all the way into the CBD, and it's coming from all directions, coming from the city centre, or rather coming from the Thika Superhighway into the city, coming out of Mombasa Road, looking at Landis Road at the Kamkunji roundabout there, and we're also looking at traffic coming in from Westlands, Langata Road, Gong Road. Everybody's meeting in the city this morning. Uhuru Highway today specifically is jam-packed all the way from the Nyayo Stadium roundabout out through to Westlands and inbound as well. It is quite something. We're looking at traffic also on Jogo Road, not too bad this morning. Industrial area is jam-packed, however, joining with the Likoni interchange on the on Mombasa Road. Construction continues this morning, guys, on Mombasa Road, so traffic is thickening up, especially outbound today. We'll keep an eye on this. Help us out here. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text on 40127.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4
24 minutes to
SpiceFM.
8, Kenya's biggest conversation. In the Situation Room is Eric, Latif and Ndu Oko. City Muga is away today and tomorrow, back on Wednesday. He is just chilling and relaxing, having a long weekend. Okay? He'll be back. We're having a conversation about church and politics and what happened in Butere yesterday. As we do that, let's also acknowledge Zainabu, who's watching from Canada. Good morning. And somebody's asking about the frequency in Narok and Bomet. Okay. 102.5 frequency in Kisumu should be able to reach these areas. And if it doesn't, try the 96.0 frequency coming off Nakuru. So 96.0 or 102.5, you should be able to catch it there in Bomet. Now, having the conversation about what was happening yesterday in Butere during the consecration of Bishop Rose Okenno, the first woman bishop of the Anglican Church of Kenya. And joining us is the Archbishop, Jackson Ole Sapit. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Thank you very much for joining us, Your Grace. And we know that you've traveled a long trip from Butere yesterday. Karibu sana, and thank you for speaking to us.
Asante sana. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I think on behalf of everybody, let's first of all congratulate you and the diocesans of Butere for this big thing that they did, electing a woman to be their bishop. That's a very good thing, and I'm sure you have one or two words to say on that.
Yes, thank you so much. Let me put a record straight. She's the second woman we consecrated as the Anglican Church of Kenya. We did the first one in the month of March, but that one was appointed as an assistant bishop. It was not through an election.
Yes.
But Right Reverend Rose Okeno is the first woman to face an election, and she won an election and therefore become the first also diocesan bishop, because she's not going to be deputy to anybody in that diocese. She is the diocesan bishop.
Okay.
And we really want to thank God for the opportunity that women can also serve in the church, in the various orders that in the Anglican Church we talk of the three order of holy ministry, which is deacons, priests, and bishops. They have been in the order of priests and deacons and priests for a long, long time. But this is the first time now they have made an entry to the House of Bishops and to get to that order of the Order of Bishops.
Very good thing, and congratulations to the Right Reverend Rose Okeno.
Thank you.
Now, Archbishop, yesterday during that event, it was a big one. It was even being televised for very many reasons. One of them being this first milestone that the Anglican Church of Kenya has reached. And then you spoke, and as you were speaking, you said a couple of things. One, you said that you want to repeat what you've been saying, not wanting to allow politics to mix into church service.
Yes.
Now, those that did not watch what you were saying, what exactly were you saying? Were you saying that you do not want to allow people who are not part of clergy to speak during service?
What exactly we mean is that, church is open for everybody. Let me begin from there. That the church welcomes everybody, and we open churches for everybody. People of all walks of life, people who are considered and consider themselves as sinners, they are all invited to the church because that is a healing place. But in the church, we have two sections. We have the pews where everybody comes to sit to listen to the word of God, which is for everybody. And then we have the pulpit where the ministers are appointed to preach, who are trained to preach, who are called to preach, are the ones who are going to man that space and pray over people and speak the word of God. And what I said yesterday is that we welcome everybody to come and worship with us, but we are not going to allow people to take the pulpit space, which is for clergy and those who are teaching the word and those who have been called to do ministry, to occupy that space and then speak politics and express hate speech and continue to divide the community using the church platform. That is what I said. We cannot mix these two.
Your Grace.
Because the sole purpose of the church is to worship and not do politics, and that's what we want to do.
For purposes of clarity, Your Grace, one question that has been asked by many people is, what harm does it do if you have politicians coming in to address the congregation and saying a word or two? From what you said just now, what harm does it actually portend?
What I said yesterday is, when a politician comes and there was a sermon preached that day and there was a prayer said, even to you media guys, you don't air the sermon, you don't air the word of God preached, you only air what the politician said, so that at the end of the day, people watching that service that day will only see politics and not church service and not worship and not the word. So what I'm saying is what politicians also come to say is not spiritually edifying. And anybody who speaks in the church, either to give a testimony or to sing a song or to offer prayer or to teach or to preach, must be spiritually edifying, because that is what people came for. When they came to church, they came to be edified spiritually. So the kind of rhetoric we hear from politicians who come and take the podium and take the mic is not anything spiritually edifying. It is hitting on their opponents. It is hitting on these others, and people are left more even divided, and they are left hungry, because what somebody at home who might be watching that service will see is not the word of God preached, is not a prayer offered. It is a political statement made in the church, and that's why we are saying, let the church be the church, the worship hour be the worship hour. If you want to address people, go and wait for them outside, or if you want to address, make your own baraza, call it for it, and then make your political statement at that point, because that is the right place for you to make your political statement and articulate what you want to tell people. But in the church, people came to be edified spiritually, and we want that to remain, that we are here to be edified spiritually.
But then, Archbishop, there are those that say that the church leaders are duplicitous. On the one hand, you do not want to allow the politicians to come and speak, while on the other hand, you want them to participate and contribute handsomely to church projects. And in those days, when you have church harambes and this person is the guest of honor, you will allow them even to come and sit up there at the pulpit.
Yes, that is the problem. I own it. The churches have entertained that for quite some time. You know, we all entered the Kenyan spirit of harambes, and it became a culture of Kenyans that when somebody is sick, they will fundraise. When a school is built, they will fundraise. When a dispensary is built, they fundraise. And then also churches followed suit. When a church is built, people come to fundraise. But what we are saying now, through those fundraising, we have handed over the pulpit to the politician. And this is what I want to correct in the Anglican Church of Kenya. Yes, a mistake has happened. And I own it 100% that we have been on a mistake, but we can't remain in the same mistake for long. A moment of repentance, a moment of a turnaround is needed and is here, and I've just made that declaration. I'm also going to make another declaration this Sunday that, I've seen a trend developing that always an announcement is made of what is called grassroots and religious leaders have gone to some politician home to be advised on what to do. And I want to say the Anglican clergy and our bishops should not be part of these trooping groups who are always classified as religious leaders and grassroots leaders. We should be busy preaching the word of God. We should be mobilizing people and make our churches centers of vaccination. And we need to be mobilizing people to come to be vaccinated of COVID, because we are a church that must endear people to where life is, not where life is lost. And I'm going to make a rejoice that not only politicians are not allowed to speak in churches, but I'm also going to bar our clergy and our bishops from joining what they are calling grassroots leaders to make trips to politicians' homes. Let us be busy doing God's work.
Your Grace, you have ventured into politics and now you're playing politics, if I may say so. When you bar the clergy and who are opinion leaders in a community from participating with other members of the community in seeking guidance and leadership, aren't you basically interfering with their own rights?
No, I did not talk about opinion leaders. I'm talking of clergy. I'm
clergy are opinion leaders.
They can be opinion leaders in that respect, but when we are going to make political trips, that is not going to add to the life of the church. So the life of the church must be left to our vocation. When I'm called as a bishop and the clergy is called as a clergy, we take it as a vocation, and we must separate me undertaking that which resonates with my vocation, or abdicating my vocation and get into other things that are not going to add to my vocation. Yes.
Okay. So how you had previously sent out this message. This didn't. We know this has come from you before these things actually got a lot hotter than they previously were. Now, who have you been addressing directly, Your Grace? Has it been members of the clergy of the Anglican Church, or was this message directly to politicians? Is it that don't allow them into church allow them into church, but don't allow them to make these statements during service? Or has it been to politicians? Even as you come here, please realize that this is holy ground, or is it a double message?
Actually, I am addressing to both. Because it takes both to make what happens. Actually, what we have seen happen. Because it is a clergy who normally invite and hand over the microphone in the name of an important visitor. A guest has come to the church. He has to address people. I come here to greet, and then you don't control what they say. then I'm also addressing politicians that when you come, don't expect us to be giving you the space because the only space available is for you to sit in the pews and listen the word of God and be nourished like everybody else who has come, so that we don't mix up the worship hour, which is for spiritual nourishment, with a political rally that people are going to make political statements. Let us not collapse that boundary, because what we have seen of late in our nation is that we have collapsed our boundaries. We no longer have a boundary between this and that. It is like everything is a mixture, and we are getting into more confusion.
Your Grace, the issue
and I'm only talking to the Anglican clergy because and the Anglican churches, because that's where I have jurisdiction over.
Right.
I'm not talking over any other denomination. Their heads can be able to make their statements the way they wish. But I'm making this statement as a head of the Anglican Church, and I want to salvage the Anglican Church to be a place of worship, not a place of other things.
Sure. The issue of money and offering and contributions also has come in, that, if politicians are coming in and making generous donations to church, generous donations to, the establishment of church initiatives, then they should also be given a platform. What would be your comment about that?
Let me begin by saying it is biblical to give and to be generous and to support the cause of ministry. Actually, it has existed all the ages and throughout the ages, that we have been called to come to the house of the Lord, not with empty hands, but to come to the house of the Lord, giving our tithe, giving our sadaka, and supporting the work of ministry for that sense. We are also constructing churches. We need money. We are constructing and running Bible schools and running other institutions that need resources. But let me say this. I said earlier on, maybe 2-3 years ago, that this culture of coming to announce how much money you have given so that we see how generous one is not biblical. And Jesus stood in the temple and saw people give, and he applauded a lady who gave the least. And she said, "It is this lady who have given, because she has given her very all." And then Jesus teaches us also, when you are giving to the work of ministry, let your left hand should not even know what your right hands have given. So I said, if you are to give, come and give quietly. It doesn't have to be a ceremony and something which must be announced, because, the more we announce, we take credit, and God is not honored. But the more we give quietly, God is honored, and we'll receive our blessings.
Archbishop, this is not the first time that you've spoken about this. I remember even last year you released a similar statement talking about contributions in church, and then later also talking about allowing political leaders to take space on the pulpit. However, we see it continue to happen. As the prelate of the Anglican Church of Kenya, what powers do you have to make sure that those under you, the bishops and the reverends, are able to follow these instructions?
Normally, the way our church is led is that it is led through not so much by enforcing a law or policing people, or I have to police what every bishop and every pastor does, but we lead the church by giving direction, and it's direction I'm giving. And we give it through pastoral letters. We give it through a synod resolution. When we meet as a synod and we make a resolution, that becomes binding, and we all agree to that. So what I'm saying is, as a leader, I will not be quiet whether people follow or not follow. I must give direction. I must provide leadership.
Sure.
That's what I've done, and that's what I'll continue to do. But as to ensure every bishop follows, we will ensure in our House of Bishops meeting, we have what is called, although we are autonomous in our dioceses and we don't want to police anybody, but we have what we call collegiality of bishops or leadership, that when we agree and we follow. And I really want to thank God. Yesterday when I made the statement, I have over 20 bishops with me, and they are all in agreement. In our wall House of Bishops, they are all in agreement. Some of them are beginning to write to their clergy, even as early as today, this week, to tell them their bishop has banned politicians from speaking in the churches. Let us observe. It is said. It is going to be our way of doing things.
Right. Still looking at the politics, and we're going towards, a very tight year. And looking at this ban that you've made, talking about the sentiments which you've made very public and have not been shy about them at all, then one must ask, what then is the role that church plays in politics moving forward? Is there one? Should it be clear? And what is that?
I think let us try to give an understanding. Let me try to attempt an understanding of what I understand politics to be. Politics to me is public administration of people's lives through leaders who are elected to be able to offer service to the people by managing their resources, by ensuring that there is a development in various respects, infrastructure, area of education, ensure we have drugs in hospitals. And these are people entrusted by the people who in our country, most of them are Christians, and the electorate are people who come to our churches. They are the ones who will get sick. They are the ones who will need hospital attention. They will need education and accessible education. And therefore, we cannot, as church, say we will be mum and not commend and not give direction when we see things are not adding up and they are not right. And therefore, the church should continue to give direction as a moral guide. It is not instruction. It is direction that the church gives. We raise our voices, and this is biblical. Ezekiel, actually, in the book of Ezekiel, the prophet was told, you are the watchman. And if danger loom over a city and you don't sound the alarm and people perish, their blood will be upon your head. But if danger loom over a city and then you make your noise, even if they don't heed it, then if they perish, then their blood will be on their own heads, and then you save yourself. So what the church is doing is to play the role of watchman. When things are not working up, it is the role of the church to say it is not adding up. When things are good, we make comments and affirmation and say the government or the leaders or the political leadership has done us proud. So you cannot expect the church to keep quiet when money, for example, is stolen that should have bought drugs.
Right.
The church cannot keep quiet when mismanagement of resources is happening to the extent that many families are not accessible to quality education because a few people are the only ones who are able to access, because we have made it very high. When a country is food insecure, and it is because the cost of production of fertilizers and other things and fuel has gone high, and then when farmers are about to harvest, the very leaders actually who are supposed to support those farmers to earn a living out of that farming will actually import that very food which are about to harvest and flood the market, and they are the ones who will be paid and not the farmer. So the farmer will release their maize to a National Cereals and Produce Board, and they are not going to get their money because the politicians have brought their maize, which is imported, and flooded that market, and then people are hungry. So how can the church be quiet? And it is my Christians who are going through the same suffering.
That's very true. Archbishop, you are the leader of the Anglican Church of Kenya, and that is a big church, but also you are influential in the leadership of Christians and, in fact, religion in the country. Now, how are you using your position to also impact and talk to other leaders of the other denominations and also other religions so that this can be a harmonized voice? So you're not just dealing with the Anglican Church, but all Christian churches in Kenya.
Yes, actually, let me tell you that we have very strong Christian bodies that bring us together, not only Christian, but also interfaith. We have the National Interfaith Council, which bring Christian, Muslims, and Hindus and other faiths together so that matters to do with the people of faith or people who have faith, we address it together and address the plight of the people together and even the stability of our nation together. And we have been meeting for prayers. We also have the Dialogue Reference Group, which we call DRG, which brings again different faith and different groups together so that we can be able to articulate position. But we also have the National Council of Churches. We have the Evangelical Alliance of Kenya, which are bodies that brings different denominations together, one for accountability, two for us to be able to learn and share together. The Catholic have KCCB, and many a times is when we gather ourselves around each other just to say, where is the country going? And we have made these statements in Mfungamano. We have made these statements jointly. Remember, before 2016, we brokered the stallment that was there of formation of IEBC, and even accompanied the country until we got the IEBC properly constituted, the Chebukati-led the IEBC that managed the 2017 election. So the church has always been in the forefront, and I, as the Anglican Church of Kenya head, is among a team of those head of churches leaders. We also do a lot of quiet diplomacy, visiting our key political players, and especially those whom we feel have a big stake in terms of maintaining the harmony of the country. We have not made it in public, but we have been, asking those hard questions. How will it look like if you are to lead a country that is coming out of bloodshed?
That's true.
How do we want to lead a country that whose economy is failing? How do you expect to lead a country where a majority are getting poorer? So we are making these inroads, and
you have
we are not going to relent.
You have your work cut out for you, Archbishop.
Yes, we may not have succeeded so far, but I know we are in a path. And one day, Kenyans will remember that there is a church that has been giving direction and giving the guidance, and people will come to appreciate.
Archbishop Jackson Olesapit, thank you very much for speaking to us today. We wish you a lovely day.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
God bless you.
God bless you too. Good morning. It's now 8 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
This is News on 10/7. Anglican Bishop Jackson Olesapit has reiterated that all the Anglican churches will not allow politicians to play politics in church. In an interview with SpiceFM, Olesapit said that even the clergy will not be allowed to politic in the church. He says the clergy's work is to offer spiritual nourishment. These as Kenyans have expressed their opinion on the order banning politicians from addressing congregations in churches.
Neno la mtu mwenye anapeleka siasa kwenye kanisa, yeye anakosa adabu kwa sababu Yesu hakuwa anafanya siasa kwenye kanisa. Kama unaenda kanisa, enda omba Mungu wako, shukuru Mungu, lakini sio kwenda kutafuta biashara nyingine ndani ya kanisa.
Ajua ya kwamba wanasiasa pia ni Wakristo, lakini wanataka pia kutimiza ndoto yao ya siasa.
Hapo kanisani kila mtu ako na maono yake ya kisiasa. Sasa tukienda huko kanisani ni kama tuna force watu kufanya vitu zenye hawataki.
Wanasiasa ukiwakataza kwenda kanisani ama kuzungumza kanisani, itakuwa kwamba wengi wao wanaweza kukataa kuchangia makanisa.
ANC leader Musalia Mudavadi took his campaigns to Murang'a County, stating that he is focused on improving the country's economy. Speaking after politicians were denied opportunities to address congregants in Butere, Musalia said he left the event because he had another meeting to attend to.
Na mimi nataka nilinde uchumi, nataka tuheshimu katiba, nataka Wakenya waishi pahali popote wanataka kuishi. Sasa mimi naona porojo, wengine wanasema tulisusia mkutano wa bishop ambayo anatawazwa. Nikamwambia tafadhali nendo ambie Bishop Sapit kwamba kwa sababu tuna safari ya kwenda hadi Murang'a.
Meanwhile, Deputy President William Ruto has continued to support his Asla movement, saying that his bottom-up approach is aimed at addressing issues affecting the lower cadre of the society.
For those who have problems with the simplicity of the wheelbarrow, they can as well tell us about the complexity of the orange. I mean, it's just a discussion we are having.
Businessman Jimmy Wanjigi, who wants to run for presidency through the ODM ticket today, takes his campaigns to Nyanza region, a region considered to be Raila Odinga's stronghold. According to Wanjigi, his first visit is aimed at ensuring that the party has strong support that will enable anyone who flies the party's flag wins the next general election. Let's listen in.
Rafiki yangu Raila amekuwa hapo kwa serikali since 1992. Rafiki yangu Kalonzo Musyoka since 1983. Rafiki yangu Musalia Mudavadi 1989, 33 years. Rafiki yangu mwingine William Ruto 1992, 30 years. Kweli hawa ambao wamekuwa hapo 30 years watatengeneza hii nchi the next 30 years? Hakuna. Hii shida ya magoliath ambao tuko nazo ni hawa, ni Raila Odinga pekee ambao ni mshujaa wa second liberation, lakini mshujaa wa hiyo second liberation hata yeye his time is up.
Last week, Wanjigi wrote a letter to the party urging the presidential candidate to submit their applications afresh after the previous period elapsed. He also complained that the party rules in the nomination process were violated. Meanwhile, leaders in Mombasa County, led by ICT CS Joe Musheru and Mombasa Governor Hassan Joho, have criticized Deputy President William Ruto's campaign, saying they do not offer solutions Kenya needs. They say that Kenyans need solutions that will help them improve themselves and not a reminder of how poor they are.
Don't be cheated again that you have no value, that the only way you will survive is this and that. Si mnajua vile mnaambiwa.
Nikiona mtu kiongozi kama mimi nakuja kwa jukwaa just to remind you how poor you are. You know nataka nini? I want to escalate your emotions.
President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto have been urged to meet and end the differences among them. Makueni Governor Kivutha Kibwana said there was a need for the leaders to set an example and preach peace to the people.
Tunataka viongozi wawe na umoja. Viongozi hata wakiwa wanashindana, mtu akiitisha kura zake aitishe kwa njia nzuri, ndio tusigonganishe raia wetu. Ikiwa na rais, makamu wake ni wao wawili, mwanzo tunawaangalia, ni vizuri wajaribu ikiwezekana, na tunawaomba watafute njia ya kulower the temperatures. Tunataka amani.
Speaking in Machakos County, Kibwana said Uhuru and Ruto should work together to reduce the political heat in the country, which threatens the unity and peace of Kenyans. And Kenya recorded 269 new COVID-19 cases from a sample size of 3,872. The country's positivity rate is at 6.9%. The total number of confirmed cases in Kenya now stands at 243,725. Of the new cases, 265 are Kenyans, while 4 are foreigners, 135 being male, while 134 females. The youngest is a 1-year-old child, while the oldest is 101 years. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
Inbound on Mombasa Road still continues to be a thing, all the way from Sabaki out towards the SGR, very slow this morning. We're also looking at outbound traffic. So you see that stretch between Imara Daima and Cabanas. That's been reduced to, let's say, 1.25 lanes this morning. So that means that traffic outbound is actually not looking really good right now, and we have to keep an eye on this one. On North Airport Road also, traffic is moving a little bit slower than usual this morning, so we have to keep an eye out for that as well. Coming off Thika Superhighway, things have gotten thicker in the last half an hour, and we have traffic all the way then from Roysambu out towards the connection then between Kiambu Road and Muthaiga Square, so that's moving slowly. Limuru Road doesn't look too pretty either. We're looking at traffic coming out of Westlands as well, in and outbound. Red Link Road is looking good. Use that off of Waiaki Way. There's an option for you. Into the city from all roads, Langata Road and Gong Road, also looking quite tight. The Southern Bypass doesn't look too bad, but you're going to connect with the Langata Road, so I suggest you go all the way to Gong Road into the city much faster. There's an option for you. Give us more. SpiceFMKE on Twitter. Text on 40127. Let's keep things moving this Monday morning.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room The only way to start your
7 minutes after 8. This is Kenya's biggest conversation into the third hour. In the room is Eric Latif and Ndu Oko. City Muga. Where is City Muga? That's what Tulitu is asking. City Muga is somewhere basking in the cold. Right? Yeah. He'll be back on Wednesday. He's enjoying some himself time. But the conversation continues right here on SpiceFM around the country. Somebody was asking about our frequency in where else apart from Bomet?
Narok.
Yes, in Narok. 102.5 our Kisumu frequency, or the 96.0 our Nakuru frequency should be able to reach you in Narok or Bomet. A very good morning to you. And also everybody, somebody who's watching from Rumbek, South Sudan, Arop Luyalateng. I got it right?
Well done.
Arop Luyalateng. In Rumbek, South Sudan. A very good morning and welcome. You're viewing from live stream SpiceFM KE, YouTube, Facebook or Twitter. And also we are live on KTN Home for the next 1 hour. Joining us in the studio is the Director General of the Vision 2030 Delivery Secretariat, Kenneth Muige. Karibu sana into the studio.
Asante sana.
It's good to have you. Welcome to the hot seat of the Situation Room.
Thank you.
We will make it moderately warm for you. Let's start off with the day's proverb. It is a Kamba proverb. Moyo ndoto wa kilomoni.
Moyo ndoto la kilomoni. What does that mean? Sweetness doesn't remain in the mouth.
Hey, you're Kamba.
No, I'm not.
Hey. This man has Google Translate.
Yeah, somewhere, just resident in
the vision.
Vision
REM. 2030, when it's fully implemented, everybody will have Google Translate in their head.
In their heads.
Muyondo tola kilomoni, and that's what exactly it means. Yeah, the good taste does not remain on the lip for long. No situation is permanent. Yeah, the good times don't last.
True that.
Well, you look at it from the good times don't last. That sounds a bit negative, right?
does.
So let's just call it no situation is permanent.
It's permanent.
Yeah, that's much.
We like
The only
good times.
constant is change.
The only constant is change. Yes. Kenneth, karibu sana.
Asante.
This Vision 2030, 2030 is just about what?
9 years.
It's 9 years and 3 months away.
And 3 months away. And the Vision 2030 was saying that it was going to transform this country. Let me just read what the blueprint is. It aims to transform Kenya into an upper middle income industrialized country.
Newly industrialized.
Newly. So you want us to add newly?
Newly hyphen industrializing.
Okay. Upper middle income, newly hyphen industrializing country, offering a high quality of life to its citizens in a clean and secure environment by 2030. The vision is founded on 3 strategic pillars. That's the basis of the implementation of the pillar. So we have the social pillar, the economic pillar, the political pillar. But let me not talk about this. You are the man who's running the show.
Yeah.
Okay? So what was the vision? And what are these pillars, or what are the enablers? So that before that, after that, we'll come to looking at whether we are anywhere close.
Okay. Very, very briefly. Vision 2030 was the first attempt to do long-term planning, development planning for this country. What you had was what you call episodic efforts. You have poverty reduction strategy, you have something else strategy. So under the government of His Excellency President Mwai Kibaki, this was the first time government said, okay, can we take a long-term view of things and plan and develop, start thinking long-term, not just in cycles of 5 years, the electoral cycle. So what was called the National Economic and Social Council was a precursor. It is full of wonks. All the brains you can find in this country were and still there. And that's when they decided, let's plan long-term for this country. So that all the efforts, we collect taxpayers' shillings every year. And then the taxpayers' shillings get dissipated in various ways. A lot of the times you find that there's silo mentality in government. So Ndu is doing X, Eric is doing Y, Ken is doing Z. And then the net effect is not times 3, it is divided by 3. Because your efforts and his efforts and my efforts are not coordinated. So this was, I would think it was a seminal change. It's very good to think long-term and to plan long-term, because that guides what you do working backwards. So the development plan, Kenya Vision 2030, was around 2008, it was mooted. 2009, Kenya Gazette notice was passed. And we survived by Kenya Gazette notice until today. Haven't done an act of parliament. Maybe we'll get to that before I leave office, hopefully. Yeah.
One can hope.
One can hope.
Right. So looking at this long-term plan, so we're looking at the year exactly that this was established was in the year 2008.
Yeah.
So over 24 years is what the plan was to say that, look, or rather 22 years was to say that over 22 years, this is what we will get done.
Yes.
Now, 22 years for development is a block, and it seems like too big a chunk of time to do things at once. Was this time then split and said, in the next 2 years, we shall do such. In the next 5 years, we shall make sure we've achieved such. Or were you just looking at 22 years and saying at the end of 22 years, all of this is what we would have achieved?
All the rivers, bringing the logs, the silt.
All the good things.
Yes.
Clean air, environment, schooling. What were we?
The genius of this, plan, and I use that word advisedly, is because Vision 2030, as conceptualized, is implemented in 5-year medium-term plans, and they coincide with the electoral cycle. So, for example, the first MTP, medium-term plan 1, was 2008-2012, and the biggest achievement there, of course, was the enactment of the new constitution. More about which we'll talk later. MTP 2 came in 2013 to 2017. Medium-term plan 2. That was the Kenyatta 1 administration, Jubilee administration. And then we are currently now in MTP 3, Medium-term Plan 3, which is running from 2018 to 2022. So what happens is that the vision is implemented in cycles of 5 years. So, and this is the genius of it, is because it's aligned to the electoral process as well, so that you don't find a new government coming in and saying, what's all this nonsense? We don't want it. We want to do something different. So it's aligned to the electoral cycle, so that an incoming administration picks up from where the last one left off. They can emphasize particular things, like happened in MTP3. In this current administration, the Jubilee administration, this last 5 years, and the MTP3, decided to focus on 4 issues, the big 4. The big 4 is an extract from Kenya Vision 2030. It just says we want to concentrate on these 4 things, but everything is driving towards the overall vision.
Sure.
So that's the way it's organized.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if we look at then at the first one, politically we achieved by having a new constitution.
Well, we had a great start by having a new constitution.
Okay.
Yes. Far from achievement.
Far from achievement. At least we got a new document that was,
Correct.
Universally
zero,
accepted,
where we all operate from.
and we have a new political system, a new movement in politics. Economically and socially, what did we gain? And by the time we're going into elections in 2013?
In 2013? I think the biggest thing which has happened in this country, and which is affecting all sectors of the economy, is a new constitution. Because it brought in a whole new raft, a new governance structure with devolution, first of all. It changed the structure of the executive. In the Bill of Rights, it has empowered Kenyans tremendously, to the extent where we're beginning to wonder, is it too much now?
We have too many rights.
Yeah, too many rights are being exercised all over the place, willy-nilly. In the individual rights have been lifted to such an extent that the public interest, in my opinion, is beginning to vanish. So as we implement this new constitution, it's going to take some time to correct and figure out where is the correct balance between all these rights you have, the obligations of the state, your obligations as a Kenyan, etc. So we are still, it's not cut and dried.
Right.
We are still figuring it out.
Okay.
We're blundering along.
But I guess what I would really love to know then is, all right, so was the delivery of the new constitution in 2010, right? Yeah. Then the delivery secretariat also has a mandate. How did then this new constitution allow, or what did it create for the delivery unit to deliver in terms of the vision? Tangible things that Kenyans can look at today and see, okay, this happened as a result of this. This happened as a result of this. This happened as a result. Do we have those? Or are we still kind of hoping something will come through?
I think one way of this job I do is an interesting job, because you're trying to make 48 cats cross the road on one zebra crossing at the same time. You have 47 county governments, you have a national government. They're all very busy. Very, very busy. 8 to 5 every day, 365 days a year, working, doing things, executing their mandate. If someone needs to keep an eye on what Ndu is doing, what Ken is doing, what Eric is doing, so that she's not shooting off towards Machakos and you're shooting off towards Kisumu and I'm shooting off towards Kajiado, but we're trying to build something in Nairobi. That doesn't work. So our work as a secretariat is to keep a bird's eye view on what everyone is doing, and they do this through reporting. We have the plan. We have the work plans, which are derived from Vision 2030. We align everything. So the whole of government planning is actually aligned. There's a lot of work that goes on in government behind the scenes to align the vision and the current priorities. And, for example, the next MTP, because now we've started developing the next medium-term plan, 4, which is going to run from 22 to 27. And I'll be trying to involve the political players in this process because we're hearing a lot of statements out there. But the ship of state moves, and it moves. And to change the ship of state by 1 degree, 2 degrees, 3 degrees, it's not easy. So there are processes going on. And we need to make sure that the political discussions also is aware of these processes so that they can develop their manifestos, realizing that everything you're doing, even in politics, should be leading towards an overall goal.
Ken, the fear and feeling of many would be that those brains that sat in the Economic and Social Council and came up with the Vision 2030 did a very good document. But then the politicians who are running government do not have a clue what this document is all about or what they're expected to do. Is it true that, first of all, is that fear well-founded? Number 2, when you talk about the medium-term plans, let's say, did the drafters of the Vision 2030 say, by this time, this is what we need to see? And within the medium-term plan 3, for example, these are the main important factors, such that now you can tell me that the political leadership of the country coming up to say the Big 4 agenda is our focus, it's actually derived from what the vision people had said. This is what we should be doing in the year 2018 to 2022.
The vision did not quite say that between 2008 and 12, this is what you're going to do. What it does is it provides an overall framework for development. For example, under the economic pillar, under the social pillar, under the political pillar, there are objectives we want to achieve. Under the economic pillar, we want to achieve 10% growth per annum over the period. Now, that is easier said than done. Man proposes, God disposes. You can plan all you want. When Corona comes, it knocks you sideways and everything goes back to zero. So these are the sort of things we have. And then we have, you have political upheaval. You have economic upheaval of one kind or the other. You have global pandemics. You have our typical Kenyan problems of, you know them. So the aspiration is 10% per annum. The achievement, of course, may not be that for various factors, those within our control and those without our control. If you look at the fear of clueless government, the beauty with long-term development planning is you can't go far off the rails because the boundaries are pretty much circumscribed. When we do the annual work plans for the ministries, everything is aligned. You start from Kenya Vision 2030, and then you come down and you cascade it down. And then we align it so that even if, Eric, you become a super minister in the next government and you want to go crazy, you won't go far crazy because pretty much the boundaries of what you can do are circumscribed. For example, in the next period, we are doing Isiolo Airport, we're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing this. And that is planned and budgeted for. It's in the budget process. So even if you come and you want to now take everything to your village in Ashuriri or wherever it is, you find that that's not possible because there's already limits to what you can do and where you can go and how far you can go, which is why it's important to involve the political players, particularly now when they're doing their political manifestos. Don't promise things which can't be delivered. Don't promise things which can't be delivered.
If only that is something that actually could be followed. But so are we saying that the plans that have been given are involving the custodians of these particular offices or areas, and the plan is being followed? So are you saying year on year from the establishment in 2008 that things have been happening annually, which is according to plan, in the manner in which it was originally designed to be?
That's an unequivocal yes. What we argue about and what we are worried about is a level of achievement. You set out to achieve 10 things and you find in the year you've only done 4 for one reason or another.
Being over-ambitious, being
also, and when people sit to plan, there's a way in which work expands to fill the time available for it. You can do a job in 10 minutes. But if someone gives you a whole day to do it, you will spend the whole day doing the same job.
Right.
So when you find central planning going on, there has been a tendency to overpopulate spreadsheets. You sit there, you're doing a spreadsheet, we're planning the water sector, for example. So you have all these hard-working public servants, and we sit there and we put everything in. We fill the page. But
17 dams.
26 this, the other, blah, blah, blah. But you see, to achieve even one of them requires so many things to be in tandem. There's the funding, you have done the procurement, the tenderers have, you've done tendering successfully, then you go to implementation, and it's a chain. It's a long chain. To achieve anything in government, actually, it's a feat.
Why don't we hear more of what has been achieved? Why don't we see, even if it was one thing, even if it's one thing, Kevin, that Ken, sorry, even if it's one thing that airport A has been established, dam what has been built, why don't we see the communication that is? Because I'm a believer that development begets development. Excuse me. And that if you see that one thing has been achieved, it kind of spurs in the mind the imagination that more, and encourages that more can be done. Yes. Why don't we see this? Why don't we have communication from your side that this and this and this is happening?
Okay, I think you put your finger on the pulse, really, which is the difficulty or the problem we have of communicating government's work and successes. It is a fact. If you live in Nairobi right now, outside this studio, you're inconvenienced by what is going on. You can see that. Everyone can see that. If you go to any sector of the economy, all of us can see the COVID, by the way, don't waste a good crisis, has given a tremendous boost to our health sector. Tremendous boost in terms of preparedness, in terms of bed space, in terms of just ramping up. So we've got development in the hospital sector, in the health sector, which would have taken probably 10 years organically, but it has been given a boost, a negative boost, I would say, because of COVID. So the problem we have in this country has been ineffective public communication. Ineffective. It happens, but it is not effective, and that speaks directly to what you're saying. You drive on the roads, you're carried around, you see what's happening. You can see there's development, but there's a way in which we need to improve from the government side how we are communicating these things to the public. And communication is important. It's not just telling you we have built a new road, or we have a new dam, or we have a new hospital, or we have brought CBC, new curriculum. It is also an informed citizenry is able to give you feedback.
Sure.
An informed citizenry is able to tell you this is working, this is not working. And then the goods of the constitution, public participation, all those nice things we wanted to be, engagement with the government. So all those things happen, but we are working on it. In fact, there's a circular by the head of public service, dated only 2 weeks ago, 24th of August. And between the Vision Delivery Secretariat and the Presidential Delivery Unit, we are trying to see how we can curate all these stories which have happened in the last 10 years, and then find a way of overcoming the block. Because government does so many things, but the citizen somehow is not aware of, somehow. And then you find there's a lot of apathy and anger towards government. Watu wamekasirika.
Yes.
Kasirika tu, wanatembea tu na hasira. And when you're in government, you're like, man, we work hard, eh? We're working hard.
We don't know.
We're working
and
hard.
People are pissed off.
But people are just pissed off.
Why are they annoyed?
People are just annoyed. So,
Kenneth Mwege is the Director General of the Vision 2030 Delivery Secretariat. We are talking about Vision 2030. Is this Vision 2030 still on track in this country? That's what he's answering about. Let's take a break. We are live on KTN Home, on SpiceFM, and online. It's 26 minutes after 8.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. 24/7 around the world, non-stop. This is SpiceFM.
Hello.
Halo, umesikia?
Nimesikia nini?
Hujasikia habari? Hebu acha nikuambie. Kile kimetokea.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Don't wait for hearsay. Dial star 550 star 1 hash to read the Standard e-paper from the convenience of your mobile phone for only 20 shillings from your telecom line, and stay up to date for a reliable source with over 100 years of experience with no additional data charges.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah!
You're listening to Spice FM.
Have you seen them? Am I live?
Yes, it's a very nice outfit, I must say. Good
Thank
job.
you. Asante sana.
The compliment is well received.
Good morning and thank you. Evan Nosingishi was asking me what channel is Spice FM.
96.7. Tell them that, right?
Yes, now they know.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to have
What
you.
a beautiful studio, my friend.
I've been to other radio stations, but I've never seen anything like this.
Thank you, and it's very nice to be in a modern studio. Absolutely brilliant.
And I have to say, it's a very cool ambiance here in your radio room. Just for our listeners, I think it is below zero in this room here.
The weather with Spice FM.
All right, still looking at cloudy conditions in Nairobi at 16. We'll see lows of 12 today, highs of 24. Sunny in Nakuru at 15, highs of 25. We'll see lows of 12 today. It's going to be the low of 12 as well in Nyeri, where it's raining at 13 this morning, going to highs of 23. Taking a look then into Mombasa this morning at 24. Also a wet morning, highs of 29 and lows of 23. Malindi. This morning, also cloudy conditions. We'll see highs of 28 and lows of 25. Out in Kisumu, a little bit of sunshine here and there. Highs of 29, lows of 18. Kakamega is mostly sunny as well at 20, highs of 28 and lows of 15. We can't forget Eldoret. It's partly sunny at 14, highs of 23 and lows of 12. Out in Kampala, it's sunny at 22, highs of 27 and lows of 17. Dar es Salaam this morning is sunny as well. It'll go to highs today of 29 and lows of 21. And looking at Johannesburg, it's sunny at 13, highs of 26 and lows of 10. And in Lagos, light rain at 26, highs of 29 and lows of 24. And we'll round things off for now. In Kinshasa, it's 21 degrees, partly cloudy, highs of 33, back down to lows of 21.
Spice up your life.
All right, still piling up in most parts of the city this morning. Mombasa Road also coming inbound, the city looking pretty slow. Coming into the city centre from, all roads are leading to the city centre today. Monday morning looks quite crazy, but we'll continue looking at what it looks like. Hopefully it will open up a little bit. We're feeding off of the Kamkunji roundabout into the CBD, coming off of Muranga Road and then joining with Ngara. Coming off Limuru Road as well into the city looks pretty slow. Coming out of Westlands also. It's a Monday morning mishmash of traffic today. Hopefully we'll get out without too much of a scratch. Text us on SpiceFM. Actually, tweet us on SpiceFM KE. Text on 40127.
Spice FM. Spice up your life. Spice FM. Nakuru. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice
Kenya's
FM.
biggest conversation
Nairobi.
continues. This is the Situation Room. In the room is Eric Latif, Ndu Oko, and Ken Mwige. He's the Director General of the Vision 2030 Delivery Secretariat. Ken, that seat that you occupy there is the same seat that the President of Estonia was sitting on Friday.
From your lips to God's ears.
Yeah? So this is it. Make sure you don't declare your political ambitions early.
No.
KRA will be dispatched on you very shortly. When she was talking to us, she was talking about the vision that the country had and the journey that they took within a very short span of years, 25 years or so, to where they are now. Digitally, they are connected completely. 99% of government services are accessible through online. every citizen, every adult citizen has an ID, an electronic ID, and they operate like that.
Yep.
And it's because she was saying it's because the leadership of the country was focused on what needed to be done, and they knew what needed to be done, and they were getting it done. Now, in Kenya, in fact, at that point we were having this conversation, we said we also have Vision 2030. And we have been seeing things happening. When you talk about, getting online, yes, we have all these services that now you can access online that you could not access a couple of years ago. But the communication and coordination seems to be completely left hand, right hand, left arm, all over, right? So what is the job of the Secretariat is it in harmonizing the activities of government, or is it in communicating, or is it in just taking reports? Somebody else is doing the work, you just go, hebu niambie last week mlifanya nini?
Uliongeza nini hapa?
Then you just tick and produce a report, but you have nothing at all to do with making sure that people understand what their job is.
Okay, Estonia. Estonia is one of those small European countries which have done extremely well. In fact, in terms of IT, in the IT information technology world, in terms of software development, they are world leaders. Their coders are second to none in Estonia. Now, the problem we have of comparing countries is that Estonia doesn't have 47 tribes. Estonia is not like Kenya in our unique basket of circumstances, which is peculiarly Kenyan. So, in a way, there's a way in which I tend to think sometimes Kenya succeeds. The successes we record and they are substantial. It's a lot of the times despite ourselves, because take a good example. We're building beautiful. At great cost, we're building beautiful roads and highways, which will open up the country and connect people and connect places. But we have old wine. Going on to the new wineskins. The fastest lane on any highway in Kenya today is the left lane, where all the slow trucks are supposed to be. Why? Because Kenyans must be on the overtaking lane, even if you're doing 60 kilometers per hour. So you find a tailback on a highway, not because the highway is inefficient or it can't carry the people, but our behavior is negating the gains which are supposed to be done by the highway. So there's a very serious way in which we also need to look at our own behavior as Kenyans and how it contributes to pulling us back. 99% of the traffic jams you find are caused by two mentally challenged people who can't give each other way. So Eric blocks Ndu, and Ndu blocks Eric. So in that mix, when you two are blocking each other, Ken comes and tries to overtake on the left to leave you guys alone, to continue with your argument. And then I cause a jam on that side, and before you know it, there's a gridlock. All you had to do was let each other pass. I give you way, she gives you way. And the traffic moves. So there are software
all
issues.
we needed was traffic lights at work.
Or
perhaps,
Perhaps
we just needed traffic lights that would work, and then Eric and would not have to
argue.
If
we had an option, and I think this is it, that for a lot of the things that we say Kenyans ought to be held responsible, dumping garbage, overlapping, doing this or the other. If I had the solution that didn't require me to do this, then we wouldn't have this problem.
Yes and no, because let's stick to the example we've just given. What do you need to be told to just give way? Let somebody pass on the intersection. Like intersections, right? You find that somebody's blocking the exit for other people. They're going nowhere. They're in traffic. You're going nowhere. And the person who's coming to pass there to go on the other direction will not take your place in the line. But what's a Kenyan thing? Block. And then you don't even look sideways.
Don't look sideways. You make sure that you're...
Do not make eye contact. And then you just sit there. So there are software issues we have, which are really bringing down the hardware. And we are all busy doing hardware. We're trying to figure out how do you now do culture change. Must Kenyans be taught how to drive on highways? Must you be told, don't throw rubbish everywhere? There will be a bin. In your car, have a paper bag, put your rubbish there. When you get to where you're going, there will be a bin. But you can't put bins on the highway so that you can throw rubbish on them.
So I hear you saying all of this is laced with the proverbial bad manners.
Yeah, we there's room for improvement. I think let's say that way. There's room for improvement.
There's a lot of room for improvement, Ken.
Across the whole spectrum.
I would not wish us to go down this rabbit hole, but let's just go to and then we come back out. if government was providing all the services that it ought to provide, the citizens would follow suit.
That's a quantum leap.
I strongly hold
That's
that.
a quantum leap.
I strongly hold that.
Justify.
Part of the reason why you see people behaving the way they behave on the road is because of their lived experience.
Yes.
It's because I know if I am caught up in a gridlock right now, if I just zubar, I'll be here for 5 hours.
I'll get home for...
because I have seen it happen before.
Yeah.
I'm not the one who caused it.
Yes.
Somebody else caused it.
Yes.
But there wasn't enough... traffic police did not react in good time.
Yeah.
Somebody who should have come to remove that, to unlock that gridlock, did not move in good time.
Yes.
And why is it that happened? There was a fender bender.
Yeah.
Insurance has told you, do not accept liability until a police officer comes and fills it out, and then you can go and make your claim.
Yes.
That police officer will not appear there for 2 hours.
True, and the traffic has backed up. Okay, you raise a very
some of those
important
things.
point. Yeah.
So if those soft issues
Yes.
of making sure that things are happening efficiently were working, traffic lights are working all the time.
Yeah.
This traffic light is green, that other one is green. Not this one is green, that other one is red.
Yes.
So you are confused of, so am I
Should I
leaving
go
this?
or should I?
Yes.
Or should I stay?
Should I go? Should I stay? If those things were working, then now we can start talking about the other software issues.
There's a deeper point that you've raised, which is good, which is there's a lack of certainty of punishment. The reason human beings follow traffic lights and follow rules and regulations is not because they are very good people. It is because there's certainty of punishment. That is why if you go to a developed country, the offense of jaywalking is taken seriously because that's a camera there, that's a camera there, that's a camera there.
Yep.
And you know someone is looking at the camera and you know action will be taken.
Yes.
You know the certainty of punishment. In Kenya and in many third world countries and developing countries, there is a certainty of negotiation.
Right.
Yeah, the certainty of negotiation.
And in both, there's the historical aspect of it
Correct,
as well.
and then there's a history of it.
Yeah.
So, you can get away with, the attitude is up to murder, you can pretty much talk your way out of situations, You can negotiate. So even if you're caught doing something wrong, you're not sure that you'll get punished. There's always ongea vizuri, tutaongea vizuri. So that's a very good point. Certainty of punishment is one of the things which are necessary for development because if everything is negotiable, then nothing sticks. There's no point having rules and regulations if everything is negotiable. It should be inflexible that you do some things in the public space. In your private space, do what you want. But in the public space, you shouldn't have an option to behave like an ass.
Sure. In your position, obviously, this is because from what I hear you say, just looking at the vision that you'd have for this country moving forward. So it encompasses everybody else's action, whether you want to. And it's a heavy thing as a delivery unit to be able to do, right? But then it also requires unprecedented congruence between every single participating body. That means everybody ought to be on the same line. Is it possible to have that? Because this is what we see in countries where this works.
Yes.
We can use the Estonia example, use the China example. Big boy of the world at the moment. They've done and are still doing the same thing, whereby everybody understands the vision, everybody has latched onto it, and everybody is implementing it as they ought to. Why?
And nobody has the rights there that you have in your constitution here. That's the next thing.
Well, look at other countries where it does.
Yes.
Look at other countries where it does, where they're not necessarily trampling on human rights, but are actually getting the job done because they've understood that this vision is something that ought to and can be implemented by everybody across board.
Yes.
There's an element of difficulty now when we look at it in the Kenyan context.
True.
Why is that? And what can be done to scale that particular barrier?
Okay, the first big deficit which we're actively trying to address now is the communication part of it. What is your role in improving your own environment? There's a way in which we say it's a very Kenyan thing. You must be familiar with this by now. Tunaomba serikali, tunaomba serikali. So help comes either from heaven, the Lord.
Or government.
Or government.
Right below it.
Yeah, but as a citizen, you are helpless and powerless. And you sit there waiting for either God or the government to help you. Now, this is psychologists who need to unpack that. Is it 100 years of colonization? What is it? Is it African culture? What is it? Why must you be so helpless and you look only upwards to either government or God to help you? So that's a different conversation. But what there is here is we recognize the deficit of information that the citizen has, which is not making them become an empowered participator in the vision. You're just sitting there waiting for manna from heaven or goodies from government, but you have a responsibility as an individual, and it starts where you live, in your house. It starts with your immediate environment. It starts with your compound. It starts by saying we don't want to live in a dirty place. We can pick up this rubbish. We don't have to sit around here with banana peels and mosquitoes and flies all over the place, saying where is this county government and why don't they come and pick the rubbish? So it's that. We have to bridge that gap and make the citizen connect with their responsibility to the improvement of their fortunes.
Yes.
Yeah, if, for example, we all want to get home in the evening, we're all tired.
Sure.
Our children are all waiting at home. We all want to get home, all of us. We have the same need to get home to our families. Now, instead of fighting each other to get home, it's easier to cooperate. I let you pass, you let me pass. She lets her pass, I let the other person pass. That's what we are lacking. So that Kenyans feel it's me against the world. Huh? So you walk around with your arms up and you're ready to throw a punch at the next person who says anything. So there's a way in which someone would say Kenyans walk around as if we are under siege. There's a siege mentality and a very defensive posture.
I think it's indicative of something then, Ken.
Yeah.
It's indicative of one thing that we haven't been able to achieve on the political pillar.
On the
of the Vision 2030. We have a governance system, a government that does not feel that it's responsive to the people. It feels like it's reactive to the people. So people have sat, we've heard it here on very many times on this show, people saying we survived despite the government. It's like we are here and the government is there.
Yeah.
And the reason why you see, for example, people in a certain neighborhood rising up and saying, come on, we want our government to come and collect the rubbish, is because people have clean houses. They have clean compounds.
It's common spaces which have a problem.
Common spaces that have a problem.
Yeah.
And the government that should be dealing with those common spaces is not dealing with the common spaces. Vision 2030.
Yes.
Why is it that not many people know about Vision 2030 and the deliverables and the achievements, the milestones that we've already stuck with, hit? It's because the government does not feel the need to communicate to the people. We are doing our work. Nyinyi kama muoni barabara si shauri yenu. Kama tumejenga port shauri yenu. It ought to be a government coming to say that this is the Vision 2030 and constantly communicating. I will give you a complete direct example of what I mean by bad government attitude. The Vision 2030 Delivery Secretariat is not anchored in law. You're a department in a ministry. And yet you have this crucial role of steering the country's long-term blueprint. That tells you there's a big, serious problem with government in terms of attitude. It does not consider that Ken Mwige and the team have a very important space that they need to occupy here. You should be reporting to Parliament. You should be preparing reports that are looked at by Parliament, where Parliament is saying, yes, we have Vision 2030, this is where we are. The Budget Committee should be reviewing some of the reports that you have when they are considering budget. The Finance Committee should be reviewing the reports that you have. All government departments should be looking at, this is what Vision 2030 is saying.
Yeah.
But you don't do that. Why? Serikali.
No, let's come back to the attitude problem. I don't think it's, and I'm not just speaking now because I'm a government officer at the time being.
Yeah.
Government is trying. What we have is a deficit in achievement on communication, and that has been identified, and we're trying to do something about it. So you don't have an uncaring government that doesn't give a damn. No, I don't think that's a fair statement. Because apart from you'll find your few outliers, rotten eggs in any situation, even in this newsroom.
That's true.
But for the overwhelming majority, as far as I know, and I'm now speaking as honestly as I can, people are really trying. Government, civil servants are really trying. And we face the same hurdles and difficulties that you have. For example, if I want to do a project, just a simple project, any project, what it takes to line up all those ducks in a row in government, with people pulling in all sorts of different directions, interests of all kinds. To get any project off the ground is a miracle in and of itself. In terms of the practicalities of how things get done. Is it in the procurement plan? Is there a budget for it? Okay, there's a budget for it, yes, but has Exchequer been released? You know, it's September. It's the first quarter of the year. You have to pay your taxes for 1 or 2 months before I get my money to spend to make your life better. So, and then you find that, for example, there are delays in Exchequer release because of the larger macroeconomic climate. So you find that your funds are coming in, one tranche will come in around November, then you expect another one in May, in March or April. And then you have to do your planning, and then you have to procure. And then she loses her tender, and then she goes to PPP tribunal, you know, and then you're there for 3 months, and then it's now April. Where is your project? You know, so it's that's why I say it's actually, when you see government has achieved something, please have some respect for what it takes.
You know what?
But that's
to do it.
That's exactly
so
what I meant.
On communication, Eric, on communication, it's conceded. There's room for improvement. That's conceded.
That's fine.
Yeah,
that one we okay.
But please don't ascribe.
I am actually not talking about the civil servants, the public servants who work in government. Very good. You know, people who are seriously. We keep talking about it here. People who serious experience, people who go to other countries, and they will get the senior most jobs
all the brains
in other
in
governments.
the government.
It is the political system of government that is where our problem is.
And
that's what I was saying. For example, if our political system of government was serious, the Vision 2030 Delivery Secretariat, and this is not a brief that I got from you, this is what I have seen before. I asked Mugo Kibati when he was the Director General, up to date. It is not anchored in law. Why is that, Ken?
I don't know. Maybe they haven't had a lawyer in charge to try and see whether they can do an act of parliament.
And now there's one.
Yes. I mean, I'm going to see what I can do to advance that agenda, to anchor the vision on a more certain legal foundations. Because indeed, when you establish a gazette notice is undone by another gazette notice. It's a stroke of the pen. It won't happen, of course, but because government is serious on Vision 2030 and the long-term planning for this country, won't happen. But of course, it helps when you have a stronger legal foundation and also mechanisms of reporting directly to the people. On government communication, I can't say this enough. All citizens know that there have been improvements. There's no citizen in this country who has not been touched in the last 10 years by one or other development. None. Any part of this country. If you look at the coastal part of, look at Lamu, for example, a county like Lamu. Lamu didn't have an inch of tarmac since independence until about a few years ago. An inch of tarmac anywhere in the whole county. If you talk to our friends and brothers who come from the northern part of the country, what used to be called NFD, Northern Frontier District, you know, Kenya, when you visit there, they send you with greetings to Kenya because they don't belong in Kenya. Now you have roads which have opened up. The most beautiful roads in this country, if you ask me, are in northern Kenya. I love that road. I love driving to Moyale for the heck of it. Just to open your mind.
Road.
It's a beautiful road. Just to open your mind and also to realize how big Kenya is. And we are all clustered down here in Nairobi and along the colonial railway, fighting over plots of land of 50 and 100. You know, just small thinking. So this country has really opened up. It has really opened up. The deficit is in communication.
Sure. And even, can I jump on that, Ken? Because, you know, I often say that the problem is where we see that, and we often shout and say, well, there's no development taking place, which as you said, is not true.
It's not true.
Right? But development goes to die in secrecy.
Yeah, true.
And, I mean, we can stick on this, and it could be one thing that, I won't forget the New Zealand Prime Minister in her 2-minute spiel about the things that she had done over 2 years. It was fantastic because it's not as though New Zealanders did not know what she had done. But she took a moment to say, you know what, in 2 minutes, I'm going to tell you all these things that we've been able to do across border. Was brilliant. And then people were able to now take that and ride on it and say, you know what, look at actually what has happened. We are encouraging for more to happen. You talk about Moyale, that road today. You talk about the things that have happened in the coast of Kenya. You talk about things that happen through and through. It's not as though Kenyans don't know. You know, especially people in the area, if they're going to be honest and say, yes, development has taken place. But, you know, it's just, you talk about, and then there are also challenges. And you talk about the challenges that reside in having to do this job. But then if Exchequer has not released funds, and I think in being open about some of these things, you're actually also in being open about the difficulties, you're giving the impetus to Kenyans to also be aware of how these things actually work. Yeah. And then they will be involved in a change-making process. In my opinion, there is a way to get beyond some of these hurdles as opposed to playing the cards so close to the chest, and then Kenyans will reserve the right to tell you what Vision 2030 is a dud.
They're justified to be angry. If you don't know what's happening, you have a right to say there's nothing happening. So, and that's a challenge we've been facing. You find somebody sitting in a let's not talk about roads. Development is not just about roads, and Vision 2030 is not just about roads. Let's talk about hospitals or Huduma Center. The best example is a Huduma Center. We have forgotten, Kenyans, just 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, what it used to take to get a replacement ID, or to get a replacement driver's license, or to get a replacement any official document, or to apply for a birth certificate. We have completely forgotten the total absolute nightmare that it used to be. Now it is so easy. You walk to one of the 52 Huduma centers, you sit there, you've come with your problems of driver's license, birth certificate, title deed, I don't know what, and you spend one day or half a day there, and you walk out and you've solved very many of your problems. Before it used to be enda community, alafu kutoka hapo enda Sheria House, alafu kutoka hapo enda wangalia ama wamefungua ile ofisi huko, alafu kutoka hapo enda Survey of Kenya. You'll do the same job over a month and at great expense. So all those people you find in Huduma centers, if you give them a microphone and ask them, serikali inafanya kazi? No, they will not remember that. They will start talking about the other problem which is outside. The other problem which is outside there.
Which leads me to ask you, Ken.
There's a way in which you can't win.
There are developments happening, yes.
Yes.
But can we of necessity say that these developments are in line with Vision 2030? Or is it that developments are happening despite Vision 2030?
No. I think let's clarify that. Everything you see done, everything, even including in the counties, is aligned to Kenya Vision 2030. Let me just explain this again. We when you're doing the planning at the national level, we do the medium-term plan, and all the ministries and national government knows what's supposed to do. At the counties, they have county development plans, CIDPs, and all these are aligned to Kenya Vision 2030. That's the beauty of this thing. It doesn't work perfectly, of course, because you'll find that in half the counties, maybe they're not as fastidious, maybe they're not as serious, maybe they didn't follow the guidelines as well as they did. But by and large, when talking about a national enterprise, Kenya is a big enterprise. When talking about a national enterprise, when you took the average across everything, you find that by and large, I would say 60-70% is aligned. The problem would be in execution. Do they manage to execute the 69 things they put in the work plan instead of putting 5 things? And I'm a believer in putting few things and doing them well.
Do you tell them this?
That's my mantra. I say, cut this out. We don't need to have 17 things on this page. Reduce them to 3 or 4. Because when they're 3 or 4, you will execute them well. But when they're 17, you're distracted.
Sure.
What do you touch? Do I touch here? Do I touch there? On Wednesday, do I touch here? Then I go back on Monday. Where did I touch? When you have few things, you do them well. For example, even in terms of national planning, one of the biggest problems we're having right now is drought. Drought is lack of water for water for irrigation and for livestock and for human beings. Water. This is 80 years since independence. We're still talking about water.
Yep.
Northern Kenya, where all the pastoralists, most of Kenya's animal herds are, you find a county has sunk only 13 boreholes in 10 years. Okay? The cost of a borehole is $1 million bob. All right. One vehicle in the fleet of the county government
is $1 million bob.
Is what million bob? Is 16 million.
Yep.
All right. So one vehicle, depending on what it is,
could have done
one vehicle could have done
16
boreholes. How is it that the leadership of the places which are water stressed do not prioritize water?
So do you see now why Kenyans would say that you're not doing anything?
Yes, precisely. So, but you see, these are challenges now we are trying to face up and say, guys, let's get serious. Don't plan to do 1 million things. Plan to do 3 things and do them well.
Absolutely.
And do them well. Just do 3 things and do them well. Solve the water problem. Finish that. Then we have many problems in this world and in our lives. So after you finish that one, turn around and say, okay, which is the next one we should tackle?
Yeah. It's 5 minutes to 9. Time for us to say goodbye to our audience on KTN Home who've been with us since the top of the hour. The conversations continue on SpiceFM around the country. A comment here by Johnson who says, if Vision 2030 was working, you would not need to be told it's working. Development is self-evidence. If I have to tell you that your life is better, then maybe
it's not. Point well taken. But I hope he's not doing that from the Thika Superhighway or a hospital which has come up recently, or in a Huduma Center, or any of the other small things.
Yeah, he doesn't know whether his life has become better. You need to tell him.
Yes.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
There are so many people peddling what is false, and that it bears remarkable resemblance to what is true.
Politicians have their agenda, and their agenda is to use every opportunity to sell that agenda and to loot this nation.
I have seen major strides that are done in this country when we talk to each other as against talking at each other.
We start getting back into the tribal cocoons which were put to us by the colonial powers. You know, they gave us physical freedom but not mental freedom. We're still mentally colonized today into these cocoons of tribe.
Now, if you live in an area where it's difficult to find a dog,
he's a goat. I kid you not.
In which part of this country is it difficult to find a dog? So that you resort. Afande umbo yako iko na pembe.
Nini umba special.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to...
This morning, we thank you very much for joining us. So, what is it that you need to do in the next couple of years? 9 years?
We need clarity.
So that we become that middle income hyphen what?
We need clarity.
Newly industrialized.
We need clarity. We need to cut through the fog. We need to reduce the wish list. We need to focus on the main things which will make a difference, and just focus on them only.
The big four?
The big four is an extract from Kenya Vision 2030. It was a priority in this 5 years. The next administration may have different priorities or the same ones. The economy. But the talk right now is the economy. What do you do to put money in people's pockets?
Yep.
And that is the only conversation that matters today. Yeah.
So that needs to be now the next MTP.
Yes.
MTP4.
And for political parties, they need to be aware that there's something called Kenya Vision 2030. It circumscribes the limits of what can be done with our money basket, because our money basket is not fantastical. Huh? It has limits.
It's finite.
Did you have a limit on how much you can borrow?
Yeah, I think we've increased the limit recently.
So limits can change.
The limits can change, yes. But there's an elastic limit beyond which you really can't stretch any further. Something will break.
I mean, something will snap.
There are limits. Something will snap at some point. It's an elastic limit. Yeah. So there's hope for this country. There's participation space. And right now we are doing the budgeting and the planning for the next medium-term plan. So any Kenyan who feels that they really feel that I really want to contribute, this is the time to do it. It's happening on Treasury. Just visit the National Treasury and Planning websites, Kenya Vision 2030 website, and see how you can participate. Because ideas are not the preserve of wonks in government. Ideas are with the people. And participation, nowadays it's easy to participate. It used to be that there was a secret briefcase that used to walk from, move from Treasury to Parliament. Sirikali, very hot secrets in there. Nowadays the process is open.
Okay.
It is open, completely open, and it's participatory.
Ken, thank you very much.
So the vision is alive, it's there, and we'll get there.
Let's hope so.
We'll get there.
We'll keep having you on the show.
We always say.
Yes.
We'll get there.
Kenneth Mwige is the Director General of the Vision 2030 Delivery Secretariat. Thank you for joining us today.
Asante.
Come again soon, so we can talk about some key pillars of the vision.
Okay?
Where you can tell us, you see, this is that is happening.
It is because
it was here.
It is in the vision.
Correct.
Asante.
Correct.
Good morning.
Asante.
It's 9 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
This is News of the Day Sunset. Church leadership in the country seeks to lock out politicians from pulpits going forward. A day after Anglican Archbishop Jackson Olisapit stopped politicians from addressing congregants at a Butere event, Interfaith Council Chairman Archbishop Anthony Muheria has stated that he will not allow politicians to address believers in church. In an interview with KTN News, Muheria said that their position has been in place since October 2019, although it has not been fully implemented.
I think we have developed a
culture in our country, and perhaps it's not an old culture, whereby slowly the politicians have gradually gained territory within our churches and also seemingly seeking to gain control over the congregants. And in this way, we have deviated from the mission of the church. And whether the church be big or small, the mission of the church is one. And the place where people congregate on Sunday or even other places of worship on other days is to bring people to their God.
The youth have been urged to guard against being indoctrinated against teachings that border on hate and intolerance. Speaking in Malindi, Islamic scholars asked the youth to understand the true doctrine and to stay away from what is meant to create division.
Mtu asipofahamu itikadi yake vyema anaweza akapotoka na akapotoshwa, na huku akijua kwamba hivi ndivyo sawa, na wakati pengine anapewa mafundisho si sahihi.
Mtoto akiwa hana kazi, hata iliwa na mawazo mabaya haya na haya, atatafuta bangi au ndio itamsahauzisha, atatafuta wanawake, atatafuta ulevi, lakini akijijua mimi nina dini yangu na nafanya kazi yanisaidia, ni rahisi sana kumweka wema yule mtoto.
Even though a meeting that was meant to bring Mount Kenya leaders together in Embu County with the purpose of uniting them will not continue as earlier planned, pro-Huru leaders have maintained that they will continue to push for regional unity. Nyeri MP Ngunjiri Wambugu and his Ndaragwe counterpart Jeremiah Kioni have stated that the unity of the region will ensure that the ongoing projects are successful.
When we need to make a decision as a region, we will make a decision that is united and in purpose. The things you're seeing, the proposals for Limuru 4, the proposals for the unity meetings, that is happening. It's just, I am sure that we will speak in one voice. It doesn't matter where we come from.
Kwa hivyo wale wachache ambao walikuwa nafikiri wanaweza wakaenda peke yao, sasa wamegundua kwamba hauwezi ukaenda na upate lolote. Lazima urudi, tukae pamoja na tutafute yale ambayo yatatufaa.
The leaders also noted that there are some leaders who are undermining the possibility of uniting the region.
Because ultimately, the agenda for 2022 for our region is a common agenda. The issue about our resources, the issue about representation, the issue about continuity of our projects.
And that is why they are keen on keeping us apart, scattering us as much as they can. And I want to say that the will of the people will eventually prevail.
The Kwale County Parliamentary Special Committee investigating the county's Minister of Social Affairs and Sports Ramadan Bungali is expected to present its report in Parliament today. Bungali is facing charges of embezzlement of approximately 65 million shillings for the 2017-2018 financial year. Committee member James Dowers said the decision on the report would be made by Parliament after passing a motion to remove him from office. Leaders from the northern part of the country are calling on the government to present Abdul Wahab Sheikh Abdul Samad in court today. Leaders from Wajir, Mandera, Garissa and Marsabit have complained about the increase in kidnapping cases in the country, saying there is need for the government to protect its citizens. Ahmed Kolosh and Abdikarim Osman are MPs from Wajir West and Fafi.
When someone is kidnapped at that time of the day and at such a place, we cannot assume that it's anybody else, but it's the government's involvement. We have gathered here to urge government to produce Abdul Wahab the soonest possible, not soonest, should produce them immediately, so that if they have an issue with him, take him to court.
Mandera North MP Abdullahi Bashir and other leaders want DCI George Kinoti and Interior CS Dr. Fred Matiang'i to intervene.
Nairobi is covered by CCTV. Remember, there was an entire government project of CCTV coverage in the entire city, Nairobi and Mombasa. And so we expected them to be manning the national center and to know who did it and why is it happening.
I think Mr. Matiang'i, the CS for Interior and Kibichu should take charge. Otherwise, should step aside if they cannot protect Kenyans.
How can somebody be abducted at 10 a.m. in the morning in broad daylight in the center of the city? This is unheard of and it cannot be allowed.
On to sport, and Karim Benzema scored a hat-trick as Real Madrid twice came from behind to build set up the goal in their first match at the Bernabeu in 560 days. Benzema scored either side after Santi Mina had given the visitors the lead in 4 minutes. Vinicius Jr. added a third for Real before teenager Eduardo Camavinga scored 6 minutes into his debut. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aceto.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
We are still in traffic hour this morning, a few minutes after 9 o'clock, and there's still a lot of traffic, especially in the CBD. And all roads they lead to the CBD. Uhuru Highway has been one for the books today. We're looking at Nyayo Stadium through to Westlands as early as 6 o'clock, and that traffic still continues. It's a feeder road for all those other areas coming into the city, looking at it coming from Gong Road as well as coming off of Valley Road. Coming out of Westlands as well, feeding onto Uhuru Highway today. Very slow movement there. Hopefully it'll dissipate in a short while, but we'll keep our eye on things and hope so. Hopefully it does. Jogger Road, not so bad today. Traffic has moved off towards Kamkunji and then into the CBD, so not too bad. Langata Road still continues to have traffic this morning. Hopefully it will not be too bad as we get towards lunchtime. All right, so we keep an eye on things. Will you help us out? Please do. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127. Let's take a look in about half an hour and see what it looks like then.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
It's 13 minutes on the 9th month of 2021. Kenya's biggest conversation continues with Eric Latif and Ndu Oko. Today's proverb is from Okamba. Moyondo toa kilomoni. Moyondo toa kilomoni. Yes. Good taste does not remain on the lip. Good taste does not stay on the lip for long. So, basically, sweet things don't last.
It's not good.
Sweet things don't last on the lip. Yeah. Moyo ndotwa kilomoni. Vision 2030 Delivery Secretariat boss has told us many things. Basically, if you look at all the things that are happening and look at then at... Remember when he spoke to the Equity CEO, Dr. James Mwangi, and he was telling us, look, guys, those of us who are, for example, in the financial sector can tell you that we have moved not just by a small step, but by giant leaps in the financial sector. Many things have happened, keep happening in the country that are good, but then aligning them and knowing that this is where we are, this is where we are heading, is where the problems usually are. When you talk about the Big Four, and then the Big Four has this very ambitious idea of having 500,000 new houses in 5 years, and you don't see 200,000 new houses, of course you'll be like,
nothing is happening.
This thing has flopped. When you talk about food security and saying that people are going to have food security, and then you're talking 2 years down the road, you're talking about serious drought that is actually being declared a national disaster, then you're like, food security flopped. If you talk about healthcare, universal health coverage, and everybody plus their cut today is looking for money so that they can afford to pay for COVID. Nobody can guarantee themselves today that they will get the COVID-19 jab by the end of this year. Then you can say,
hi, flop.
UHC flop. Manufacturing, and there's no new factory that has opened in the country that we are saying there's a new industry that has opened, Kenyan, and that has employed X number of people. Or there's a new market that we have developed for this country where now these industries are able to send. We are still hearing manufacturers complaining and saying the ease of doing business, there's difficulty in doing business. Then you look at manufacturing as Big Four, flop. The issues is just how to connect the small little gains to the Vision 2030, to the bigger picture of the 2030 and moving forward. And that's where government communication, like Ken said many times, accepted, It is a big, big problem. Yet we have so many that could move it forward. Yep.
That's true.
Let's revisit the conversation that we had earlier with Archbishop Jackson Ole Sapit.
Okay. Now, there's certain things that he did say, and I think, you know what, one thing I must hear that I heard very loudly is that he's unrelenting in this position. This is not a matter of negotiation. This is not something that is being made as a suggestion or something that could happen, or can we please revisit this notion that politicians can come into places of worship and then, speak in the manner in which. Secondly, it was that, you know what, I am not talking about other denominations. I am talking about that which I have jurisdiction over as the Archbishop of the Anglican Church in Kenya. I am saying that we as Anglicans are not going to accept this, number one. However, I will not shy away from having this conversation with my colleagues in other denominations and make this same suggestion, because the establishment of the church in the beginning was for 1, 2, 3, and we're not going to allow it to be diluted. One of the harms that he talked about was, you know what, we are getting away from the message that was initially set aside for church, for a holy place of worship, regardless of where it is. And that we run the risk of diluting the message or having the message ignored completely. So, something that is as encapsulating as politics, we will not allow it to happen in church. Unrelenting in that message, saying that this is it. I'm even going to go much further and say, members of my diocese around the country will not then be involved in this grassroots leader thing, whereby you're going to visit politicians and then share ideas of what the politics should be. We are saying, no, it will not happen. He used the word very strongly, ban.
Yep.
I am banning you from doing this.
Yep.
And clearly that's a message that is going to reverberate throughout the country today. That he's saying, not just will we tell you, encourage them not to come to church. I have banned you going for these meetings. Don't even go, because it is just going to take root and get out and bring up something a lot more dangerous than what we're even seeing today. Unrelenting in his message and saying, you know what, in as much as this is just for the Anglican Church, I am also going to talk to my brothers, my colleagues in other denominations and say this is something that we have to take seriously, because not only are we desecrating probably going as far as desecrating places of worship with this kind of speech, but we're getting away from what the message of the church ought to be from the very beginning. So this message, in as much as it is important, let it be taken somewhere else. No feelings, no emotions, very clear.
And I asked him, you are the head of the Anglican Church of Kenya. The bishops are not appointed by you. They are elected by their congregation. So they're not really answerable to you per se, okay? How are you going to make sure that they actually listen to you and they obey? And he said, well, in church we are participatory. It's not, a decree. We don't have to police each other. He went around it and said, we operate under the understanding that the reverend will listen to the bishop. And then the bishop will listen to the archbishop. We operate under that understanding.
In order.
In that order. There's some clear order. But we haven't seen it being implemented before. And so I'm sitting back and I'm saying, yeah. Archbishop Ole Sapit is saying the Anglican Church will not allow politicians on the pulpit. The Anglican Church will not allow our clergy to visit politicians at their homes in these delegations. Yeah, we were not going to participate in politics. Are they going to listen?
Have you heard him say something with this kind of ban like this before?
Yes.
The ban now to even stop from grassroots meetings?
He banned people donating money. If you're not bringing a check where we can trace back where the money has come from, it's not going to be accepted in the church. People have gone with bags to church and they've donated.
In the Anglican Church?
Yes.
Okay. I think, though, the way in which he's come out now and being repetitive in nature and being very clear about what it is that has been said. Also now giving the point that if you look at the Anglican Church, whether you look at that it is in its order, deacons, chaplains,
Starting from lay reader, or is
from
it
the very
lead?
beginning, yeah. People's warden, bishop's warden, vicar's warden, etc. It goes up in that hierarchy. So what am I saying? That there is an order of things, right? And by the time you find an archbishop of a land speaking in this manner, it's something that has been taken under careful consideration. He didn't just sit up and say, this is what I'm going to do. Obviously, there was consensus, number one. Number two, there was a prior notice that this is what I am going to say. Even that thing he told us this morning, it's not on a whim. They say, okay, actually, I woke up coming from Butere last night and I thought, you know what? Actually, even those grassroots meetings that you go for, I'm actually going, no. Obviously, it's something that he has had a conversation with somebody about before. There's a synod of bishops, for example, that holds every now and again, that they discuss matters thus. And coming out to say something like that, it is clearly something that has gone under heavy and serious consideration to see the dangers that lie in allowing such things to continue. And saying that because of that, this is the decision we're going to make. By the time that is happening, I do believe that those under that jurisdiction are going to take it seriously. That to now look behind and say, now look back and say, look, this is actually what we have been doing, because
You have
he
faith.
didn't come out and say it.
You have faith that this will happen.
No. I'm saying he didn't come out and say it, but I think it is very clear because you know what? These people are under a payroll, whether you want to realize it or not. That is not just the calling of God that puts you in that position, but you're being paid.
You're being
there
paid.
There are consequences to come if the person
You are
over
paid.
you has given an order and you do not listen.
You are paid by the membership of your church.
Over whom jurisdiction has been given and it has been agreed.
It's okay.
Yeah.
But you're paid by who? The people who come and give offering every Sunday. That is where you get your money from. Your upkeep. Now, is he... Okay, so the Anglican Church, the prelate has said this. The Kenya Catholic bishops have also said similar wordings. You know, Archbishop Muheria and the others have been very vocal on this and saying, you know what, that does not happen in church, blah, 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 blah. In Catholic, it's still happening. We have seen the Episcopal leaders and the Pentecostal leaders coming together and issuing statements and saying, you know what, we do not want this. It's still happening. What I am saying this morning is, I hear what the prelate Archbishop Jackson Olesapit has said. Yes. I hear what the Catholic bishops have said. I've heard what the NCCK has said. I've heard all of them. But individual leaders in the church who are the ones who have been perpetrating this and perpetuating this are not going to listen. They are not going to change.
And I think that there will be consequences should they not.
What kind of consequence?
Well, I mean, here you are.
Tell me today, a lay reader in a small church somewhere has allowed a politician who's come today, well, plus the pastor, and the politician has come to speak. Local politician, let's just start with the small ones. Let's not just look at Ruto Musalia. Local guy who wants to be local MCA has come to a local small church in Anglican somewhere, and he has been allowed to speak. What's that lay reader going to face?
Well, I mean, definitely there will be reporting, but then if you also know like how the Anglican Church works, is that a lay reader will read. That's it, and then the person who would invite would be the pastor of the church.
There are some churches where, yes, the church is, there's a parish. The pastor is in charge of the parish. Okay? Now, in the small churches, the lay reader is on who's leading the service on a certain day. And on that day, local guy who wants to be MCA has come to church.
It'll get out.
Or local two guys, because this church today is doing Harvest Sunday and they're bringing harvest and they're doing some small fundraising because you know what? They've got the parish quarter, the diocesan quarter to meet. They've got the archdiocese quarter to meet. They have got quarter to meet. They need to submit money to the churches above them.
It'll come out.
Then what will they do?
It's left to
the
them
lay
to
reader
say.
says,
the only thing we didn't hear
I invited him to come
today,
and speak because he was part of the congregation.
The only thing we didn't hear His Grace Olesapit say today is what would happen then if you do give this directive and then something happens thereafter. That's the only thing we didn't hear him say. But in terms of what the directive is, in terms of what the ban is, this is it. And like I said, by the time you have him mentioning things like the Synod of Bishops, who are aware of these things that they come and discuss on a regular basis, it has trickled down. It has trickled down. They know whether they do it or not after that is a totally different story. But it has trickled down in terms of what the order from the top has been. That because of 1, 2, 3, we don't want this to happen. Because of what we are watering down in terms of our message when it comes to the religious leadership of the country. This is what the message is from us. Now, should they enter into a situation whereby your lay reader X in certain parish in wherever is doing whatever, and it comes to their attention, then they will know what recourse they will take thereafter. They will know. They will know. You think it'll just go unnoticed like this? Oh,
it will not
really
go
matter.
unnoticed. It'll go noticed, and there's nothing that's going to happen. Nothing. That certainty of punishment that Ken Wigger was talking about, it is lacking everywhere, even in church. Even in church. The Archbishop will say this. And yes, he told us, in Butere yesterday, there were various other bishops in attendance, and they agreed with him. And they said, in fact, we are sending the message down that the Archbishop has issued these instructions. Let them trickle down all the way. So the Archbishops are talking, and going down all the way to the local church, the message will be spread. But consequence, what's the consequence? What is he gonna do? I am the local reverend here in charge of this particular parish, okay? And one of my congregants is the local MP, or one of my congregants is campaigning to be the next MP, and we are having this particular event. And so I allow him. He'll stand at the pew. He'll not come to the pulpit. He'll speak. What's going to happen to that reverend?
It will be interesting to know. It will be interesting to know. Maybe that's one of the questions that we should actually have asked him. So what happens if this practice continues?
See, he said
What
they can't
exactly
police, they can't enforce. He already said it. We can't police, we can't enforce.
But the encouragement is this.
It's just encouraging. We are in a situation, Ndu, where the church leadership itself
is compromised.
Does not listen to its leader. That's why Archbishop Ole Sapit spoke last year. He's having to speak again. He's having to repeat himself. He's having to stand up. Why was he standing up and saying we are not going to allow? And then all these guys were leaving. These guys were leaving because they have been to church before and they're same Anglican. And they've spoken. And they're wondering, wewe ni nini wewe? Natuambia nini? That's the attitude that they have.
You don't want to sit here and listen to what should have brought you here in the first place. Then you can leave.
That's the attitude.
And I think that's
okay.
And
the attitude is not just with the politicians, it's also with the congregants. This thing can only be enforced if the Christians themselves who come to church also say, no, we do not want. Mheshimiwa, yes, we respect you. In fact, we are going to honor you by giving you a special seat there at the front, but that's all. That's the most you're going to get.
I think it's okay that they left.
But because the congregants are not doing that, it doesn't matter how many words Archbishop Ole Sapit will use, or Archbishop Muheri of the Catholic Church and the other bishops of the Catholic Church. It does not matter how loudly they speak. This vice is not going to end.
I think it should matter.
It should, yes.
Yeah, and I think that's the skew.
Matter.
I think that's the skew that the conversation then needs to take. That there needs to be some kind of separation of things. Because unfortunately, you're bringing messages to people who at that point needn't be listening to that in that moment. And that there are very many moments, and I think above and beyond who it needs to keep coming out, that, why is there repetition? It doesn't matter. That at the very basic level of education is rote, it's repetition over and over. Why? Because you might either, number one, forget, and you're taking it into consideration, or you ignore it. So we repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. There is always the hope against hope that you will actually understand the thrust of this message.
Yeah.
So that's why, and if you ask me, if it needs to be repeated, let it be repeated.
It takes the church members to be converted for this thing to work.
It's and today, one of the ways of conversion is repetition.
Today the church members are not even converted. They're just sitting there and they're like, yeah. If the Mheshimiwa comes to their church, they will, umesikia leo baba anakuja kanisa. They will be ready, they'll be cheering.
Apart from the congregants,
they'll be wanting to see the baba speaking to them.
One very important thing that he said, even when you go and cover these services, do you cover the sermon? Or do you cover no, what do you cover? What the politician said in church.
Yeah, because that's what's new.
People, how do you know? You don't know.
The sermon is not new.
How do you know? a new sermon on a different message that is being given, delivered in a different way. You don't know that. You don't know that.
Delivered in a different way. It's the same.
You don't know
what are you going to say?
What's the difference between what the politician is saying that they've not said before? Come and vote for me and I will do this or the other thing for you.
Do you think as an editor I'm going to send a reporter to church because so-and-so is speaking?
Then don't send.
I'm sending a reporter to church because Raila is attending that church service.
And then what is he going to say that is different
because
from
I
what
want
he
that
had
story
said
of
before?
what Raila wants to say.
What is it different?
Not because that they have certain
it's because
pastor.
he's there, not what he's saying. It's the same thing. It's
only times you will
there.
send is during Easter. You will send people to All Saints Cathedral to hear the Archbishop of the All Saints Cathedral speaking. That's
because it's Easter.
Yes, because it's Easter. What's the Easter message?
Is that the message of conversion is one that is based on repetition. Now, if you're going to talk about the fact that the congregants and whomever else is listening to this needs also for their mind to be changed, the repetition is very important. Extremely important.
This hour, we are okay. We are speaking the same language. The repetition is important. Will the repetition work? No. Joseph in Nairobi.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Yes, I believe there is a hand of government that regulates, the churches and all that, right?
Regulation of churches has been a bone of contention in this country forever.
It's been an issue.
It's been an issue. So there is no way the government regulates, or before you open a church, you need to involve the government or something.
You just register
You
it,
register
and that's it.
And that's it. Yeah, you're allowed to practice.
Yeah, you're allowed to practice. So you register once and you can open 30 churches.
Well, what's the point, Joseph?
The point is, there's a politician who will come there. If you don't allow him to speak, consequences will follow you from direction. So you're gonna arouse. Secondary, if he brings 2 million, no one's, you are not accountable to anyone.
Yes.
So you gotta get the 2 million, and you're gonna avoid all these issues that could come along if you never allowed it. So it's a matter of actually fearing God, not even the Archbishop.
Voila.
Thank you, Joseph.
So it's difficult.
Thank you. Rono in Eldoret, good morning.
Morning to you, good people.
Good morning.
You are distorting the Archbishop's message.
How?
The Archbishop did not say that politicians should not say anything in church. The message is, what are they going to say in church? They are not going to campaign. They're not going to just listen to me. I heard you, and I watched the whole enthronement in Canada yesterday. His concern was that politicians will always take sides.
Yep.
They'll always politic.
Yep.
Don't forget that the church in itself is a political entity. The term ecclesia means a group, you're coming together for a common purpose. How do you achieve that? You achieve that through politicking. And they can play politics better than the politicians. He does not need to police against allowing the politicians to stay to talk in churches, but he'll police the message that the politicians are going to put across in church.
But that's not what the Archbishop said. Rono, the Archbishop said in very many words and repeated that during a church service, there's a divide between the pew and the pulpit. The pulpit is for the clergy. And during church service, the message only comes from the pulpit to the pew.
Exactly.
And no politician will be allowed to come to the pulpit to also give their message. If they can speak, they can speak after the service outside the church.
Outside church.
Yes.
The same congregation.
Yeah, to the same congregations. It's the same people.
Does it matter where you tell them? The message will still be the same.
That's okay. Do it outside the church, not within the church that has been demarcated for this particular message to be given. That's what he's saying.
The argument here is during the service order, there is no room for politicking.
Exactly.
It's common sense. The politicking happens after the service. It happens during the so-called harambes. It happens during the so-called ushuhuda. But you argue with the Archbishop and go and read about Mussolini asking his generals how many troops the Pope had. And you know what happened to him. A good day to you.
Cheers.
Thank you, Rono. Joel in Kericho, good morning.
Salama sana ripari asubuhi.
Salama kabisa.
Hii mambo ya makanisa kukataa wanasiasa mimi siwezi kubaliana nayo kabisa.
Kwa nini?
Maanake sasa ukiangalia kuangalia yale makanisa ambao au maaskofu wanatumia walichangia wanasiasa ndio walichangia kujenga. Naona na ukijaribu kuangalia na vile tunajua mwanasiasa fulani anakuja kanisa sisi tunajaa huko. Mwanasiasa so utaona hivi majuzi utaanza kushuhudia kwamba waumini waanza kupungua sababu wa makanisa wamekataa wanasiasa waongee. Na ile kitu wangeongea pia wangesema pesa ya wanasiasa pia hawataki. Mbona watasema hivyo?
Lakini amesema pia hivyo, Archbishop amesema hata tukiangalia mambo ya harambee, wewe kama mwanasiasa ama mtu mwingine kama Erika kwa hiyo kanisa, you contribute just like everybody else without necessarily having to come and say this is what I've brought. You are participating just like all other members of the congregation on the day. Not that you're going to be given a special place.
Why invite me? Mbona unani-invite?
Sasa si umekuja kama nini?
No, umesema kama kuna harambee unasikia unatumia pale unasema wewe kuja kuna harambee tu kuna harambee. Wewe ni mheshimiwa. Haya mbona unakataa pia niongee? Kama utaki pesa yangu pia unitaki basi ni hivyo. Shukran.
Asante sana Joel. If you don't own my money, don't accept me as well. And if you own my money, then you have to play by my rules. What's in it for me? It's like a quid pro quo. You want my money, then you have to give me 30 minutes. 1 million shillings buys me 30 minutes of speech.
To say whatever you want.
Yeah, so I do 5 million, it's 30 by 5.
Take over the whole service.
9:30, Kenya's biggest conversation. Let's take this break and take a look at the weather and traffic. What do you think? Do you think this order by Archbishop Jackson Olesapi to the Anglican faithful or any other order by the other clerics is going to be heeded, that politicians should not have space in the pulpit to speak? We're not asking whether it's right or wrong. Do you think that this, because we have heard the orders from various leaders of the church, do you think this order can actually be heeded and implemented? That's what we want to hear. 0719 012 600.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. 24/7 around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM.
We give you the latest, the funniest, and the most entertaining updates and news from Kenya and the world while you kick back and relax. Join in our comical duo Hassan Umar and Sugar Boy on Habari za News every Friday at 10 p.m. only on KTN Home.
Forgiveness is always conditional. Even before God, there's nothing like unconditional forgiveness.
Government doesn't pay you pension until you retire. In fact, they have no money for you. The day you retire, they look for it.
This country is punishing many young people. These young people are more susceptible to be deceived, to be taken advantage of, and they're more susceptible to be bought off.
Let us also talk about where we want our country to go. You know, we are a population of very young people.
We're in a state of capture. The judiciary is under duress. Parliament is in the pocket of the executive. You don't sit and wait for the regime to topple itself. It will never do so.
By the way, let me tell you, these guys are so persuasive. I'm telling you, they can persuade you to sell your grandmother. I'm telling you, they can sell sand in the desert.
City, has anybody on this program said to you as a guest, saying, "Oh, shut up, we don't want to be told what to do"? Has you ever that kind of... Has anybody been
Listen, I will not listen.
Bit of advice. Because you're working on the premise that we should all pay heed to these proverbs. It's a very suspect notion.
This is the weather with Spice FM.
Still mostly cloudy conditions in Nairobi at 18. We'll come down to lows of 12 today and highs of 24. In Nakuru, it's 18 and sunny, highs of 25. 23 will be the high in Nyeri, where it's still raining at 15. Looking into Eldoret, it's sunny at 19, highs of 23 and lows of 12. In Kisumu today at 24 degrees, it's sunny, highs of 29 and lows of 18 today. And in Kakamega, sunny conditions at 24. highs of 28 and lows of 15. In Mombasa, 26 and mostly sunny, highs of 29 and lows of 23. And we're looking at sunny conditions at 27 in Malindi, highs of 28 and lows of 25. All right, let's look out of Kenya into Kampala, where it's cloudy at 22, highs of 27 and lows of 17. In Dar es Salaam, 27 degrees, light rain this morning, highs of 30 and lows of 21. Joburg is sunny at 19, highs of 26 and lows of 10. And Lagos this morning is still raining at 25, highs of 29 and lows of 24. Looking into London this morning, it's sunny at 14, highs of 19 and lows of 14. Sunny conditions at 13 in Paris, highs of 23 and lows of 13. Out in Beijing, we're looking at sunny conditions at 28. 28 will be the high and lows of 21. And coming into early Monday in New York, it's clear at 24, highs of 29 and lows of 20.
Spice up your life.
All right, it continues in the CBD. That's where we'll see the most of the mishmash this Monday morning. It continues coming off a thicker superhighway as well. Kiambu Road is a thing also, joining with Muthui Square today. Coming out of Westlands as well, that's a problem. Limuru Road looking a little bit better. There's a little bit of a hold up right there at Village Market, but then you get out towards Aga Khan and then out towards either Forest Road or through to Ngara. Shouldn't be too bad for now. That whole Muranga Road area, unfortunately, is an absolute mess. Coming and looking through to Langata Road as well. Not too bad. Just around that neck of the Wilson Airport and then out towards the Timor roundabout is where you're going to see an issue today. Jogger Road behaving very well today. She gets a tap on the back for this. Let's hope it gets better throughout the city for most of today. SpiceFMKE on Twitter. That's how you can get in touch. Text on 40127.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4
It's 23
Spice
minutes
FM,
to 10.
Nairobi.
We are here to pick your call, 0719 012 600, 0719 012 600, or SpiceFM KE, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. The leader of the Anglican Church of Kenya, the Archbishop Jackson Ole Sapit, was speaking to us earlier this morning, and he said, you know what, I've actually issued these instructions, and these instructions are that we are not going to allow politicians to speak in the pulpit during service. And in fact, next Sunday, he's already told us, next Sunday, the new order that he's going to issue is no clergy should be accompanying other leaders in these delegations that go to political leaders' homes or offices, to have these kind of conversations. Members of the clergy, don't join the other people when they're going for such. The Kenya Conference of Catholic Bishops has issued similar statements in the past where they've said we do not want to see politicians speaking during service in church and bringing the politics to church. We should separate church and politics. Those should not happen. But we keep seeing this happen left, right, center, Sunday this, Sunday the other. So the question is, do you really think that these orders by the top leadership of the churches is actually going to be heeded this time round? Is it? Pastor George from Ruruta Satellite, good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning to you, Pastor George.
Morning.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Yeah, which church do you represent,
Hello?
Pastor George?
Yes, True Light Apostolic Ministry.
Which one?
True Light Apostolic Ministry.
All right.
Yes.
So this order of politicians coming to speak in church. First of all,
according to my view,
yeah.
And the way that Bishop Ole Sapit spoke yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I want to say that that is the correct point, and the way he spoke. Hello?
Yep, go ahead.
Yes, the way he spoke is what needs to happen in our churches, because you find that we have tolerated politicians and they have separated our churches. You find that, in fact, when a politician enters in a church, many people will divert their mind. They will not listen, or they will not put their attention in the sermon of Jesus Christ or in the sermon of the clergy that is being given by the clergy. But they will put their interest, or they will direct their mind to the politician and the politics. So the way Bishop Olesapit spoke, so I agree with that, because that is what we need to do in our churches, because you find that nowadays our pulpits have become a pulpit of politics and not a pulpit of preaching salvation.
Let me ask you, Pastor George.
Yes.
In your own church, New Light Apostolic Church in Riruta Satellite,
yes.
What do you do when politicians visit your church? Do they visit your church?
Okay. Our churches, we do not have any politician who have visited our church. But if they want to play their politics role, or if they want to view their agendas according to the politics, okay, we can organize with them, and we can tell them to reach people, but not in a church, on their own meeting, or they organize their meeting.
And Pastor George, in the day when you want to hold a harambe, maybe you want to expand the size of your church, build a bigger church or something. And one of your congregants comes and tells you, you know what, Mheshimiwa Musalia is a very good friend of mine. I can bring him. He can come to be our guest of honor.
Yes.
And Musalia Mudavadi comes to your church. Are you going to tell Musalia Mudavadi that I'm not going to allow you to speak in church?
Okay, according to my view, now let me speak from this direction.
Yeah.
Okay, a church cannot be built by one person. And if any politician have that contribution to come and contribute for the building or support of the church, let him or her come and contribute, and not speak any matter concerning politics.
Okay.
Because even if he will not come to support the church is the building of God, and the leader of the church is Jesus Christ. He will bring people who will support the church, and the church will be expounded.
Okay.
Yes, and as I finish, I want to say this. Now, let us refer to Muslims. You find that even the mosque has been built by one person, and you can never hear politicians speaking in the mosque or speaking about politics. You see that? So the problem where we have right now, Bishop Olesapit has now abandoned and has said that pulpits are not for politics. You find that some of us pastors, we are rejecting that statement, or we shall go contrary to that statement. At the same time, we shall oppose because we need money. You see that?
Yeah.
At the same time, you find that some of us pastors, we are in politics. So we don't agree with that. But according to my view, I say this, and I send this message to all men of God and women of God out there, that we need to agree with the statement that Bishop Olesapit said yesterday, for us to keep our churches clean, and for us to maintain the purity and the salvation in the church.
Okay.
And this message is to all pastors across this nation and across the world.
Asante sana.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Pastor George of the New Life Apostolic Church in Satellite. Asante. Amani in Nairobi, good morning.
Good morning, Eric. Good morning, Du.
Good morning, Amani.
And good morning, CT, wherever you are. You're back on leave. You came in philanthropically as Eric invited you to come and interview the CJ. So well done, wherever you are.
He was suffering from FOMO. He just didn't want to miss out on interviewing two presidents back to back, President of the Supreme Court and President of Estonia.
Eric, I heard you begging him to come philanthropically. Wait. Okay. Now, about this church business.
Yes.
I think politicians need to respect space and what the space is created for and its dedication. Eric, you cannot leave where you are to go to Parliament and start addressing people. You respect that space because it's created for certain people to operate there. Yes, you can be invited, But otherwise, no, you don't just do that. And you don't keep demanding and saying, you know what, if you don't invite me, I'm going to ruin your names because I'm Situation Room. I'm going to crucify you. Goodness, what's that all about?
Power to the people.
I'm gonna mess up your name. You'll never see the presidency. I'm Situation Room. I'm powerful. All Kenya listens to me. The whole world listens to me.
However, tell you something, Amani. If Parliament allows me to start addressing them, once every quarter, and I get used to it, the day they stop, I'll do exactly what you're saying.
I agree.
I'll come back here and say that house is no longer a house of the people.
Exactly, you will do that. So they should never even start it.
Yep.
And when they start it, can they put the brakes and remind you, we're really sorry we did this to you. Yeah, you've gotten used to this. But really, our focus is not that. Yeah, our raison d'etre is 1, 2, 3. Yeah, so really, it's no disrespect, but this is what it is. We actually helped you do the wrong thing, and we are sorry. Yeah, and that's what the bishops and all the churches should say to politicians. We did wrong and you've done wrong.
Amani, the question we are asking.
We worship God. We don't come to worship politicians or anybody else or the clergy. The people who operate within this space are clerical in terms of opening their mouths to speak. The clergy and those people who have been given particular duties within that particular worship time to do certain things. That's it. And that's everybody. So anybody else remains anonymous and silent.
The question that we are asking ourselves is the bishops have spoken, the archbishop has spoken here, the Catholic bishops have spoken, others like the caller just before you, Pastor George, they have spoken. But will this be heeded?
Will people listen? That's the thing. Is that the authority that has spoken loud enough and strong enough to stop folks in their tracks from making these invitations or allowing these things to happen?
Your question is absolutely relevant. Without reward and punishment, things don't happen. You're rewarded when you do what is right, meaning the space is open for you. You can come in any time. So the politicians come to worship and keep quiet. They are most welcome like anybody else. That's the reward. When they try to come in and do what they want according to their own agenda, they should be punished for it, including the parish priest or cleric who invited them in to do just that on the altar. It should never happen. Punishments must happen, because that tells people you're serious. Your words are followed through with punishment.
Okay.
Yeah. You're answerable for what you do
or don't do. There will be consequences.
Yeah, I don't do. Yeah, there are consequences. And they must be put through all the way. Yeah.
Thank you, Amani.
Otherwise, Eric, you'll do anything you want there. If Situation Room had no rules, goodness, you'll do what you want and do. You'll be having a party. Are you saying, Amani, come, we're partying. We're drinking wine and champagne.
Oh, there's no show tomorrow. I don't feel like.
Yeah. Because I don't feel like it.
I just don't feel like it.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Amani. Have a lovely day.
Thank you, guys. Same to you. Bye.
Zachary in Nakuru, good morning.
Oh, good morning. Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm very, very happy to have followed the whole conversation. Having listened to the bishop and having also listened to Mr. Eric Latif mentioning the word duplicitous. Is a word I like because it can be used to describe so many situations in our present times. Yeah, the church is duplicitous, and let me tell you, Mr. Eric, if you lead a church and you are the leader, and I hear that on Sunday you are inviting Mr. So and so, perceived in our minds to be Mr. Moneybags, that's a politician, whoever, either an MCA, an MP, woman left. You can take this to the bank that I won't attend that church that day. I won't.
Why?
Well, definitely because I know that that guy is coming to do politics in church.
Okay.
And I want to paint a picture whereby you are going to remember the current leaders. You remember they were put hands on, they were kneeling down, some of them were pretending to cry. Okay.
Yep.
And you can see that actually most of us Christians are fanatical followers. The moment we go to church, And we are told that they don't go for vaccination. That is what we believe. Even if you are professors in a university, we believe the word of the men of the cloth so much, such that we forget that God gave us our brain to use it.
Okay.
And the last question I would pose to those people who are allowing politicians to do, some of them are called biblical names,
Yep.
It means that they have been brought up in the Christian way.
Yep.
But what is their behavior? What do they do? Somebody comes and says that I want to give this church 1 million shillings, and after 30 minutes, I'm going to another church, I'm donating 500,000. If you are sincere in our Christianity, we should ask this person, where do you know this money? I mean, what do you do to get this money that you are giving us?
Yeah. That's true.
Because even you, Eric, you cannot be telling me that, Mr. Zachary, because I hear that you have got so many problems, I will be giving you 100,000 every month. If I'm really normal, I would ask you, okay,
where are you getting
about
it from?
my problems and where are you getting this money from?
Yeah.
Maybe you are denying your family and your relatives, and even yourself some basics, so that you now come to me, so that you are trying more than they believed.
So should we close the door on all of this, whether it's contributions that are made in monetary, whether it's contributions that are made in speech? Should the door then be closed to all of this and leave places of worship for what they were initially meant to be?
I'm not saying that people should not contribute.
But in silence.
But the bishop told us, if you are coming to contribute, let your left hand not know what your right hand gives. Okay?
Okay.
That is my point and my take. Can you have a nice, good day?
You too,
guys?
Zachary.
Cheers,
have
man.
a lovely day.
Thank you.
Guido Jaka is asking, maybe we need to go back and ask, what's the original purpose of a church? Why did we set it up? Unfortunately, when corruption pervades a society up to and including the church, confusion reigns, even in such simple and clear matters.
He goes on to say that follow-through action is needed. A pastor who violates this directive by Archbishop Olisapit must be called out publicly. I'm not sure what other mechanisms are available to the leadership. Nonetheless, we mustn't relent in the message, just like John the Baptist.
Okay.
Repetitiveness
Repetitive.
unto conversion.
Say it. Stephen in Mombasa, good morning.
Yes, good morning, SpiceFM.
Good morning to you, Stephen.
I'm liking this conversation. But I have a different thinking.
Okay.
Politics is in the constitution of Kenya. And one mistake the churches do, it is prescribing politics as if it is a bad thing or it is a sin. And in churches, we are voters. So now, the issue should be discouraging divisive politics in church.
So discouraging divisive politics in church?
In church, yes. Because in any setup, we have to recognize leaders in any cadre, be it in politics, be it in the government, or in another department. So there is no way you are in a church and then a senator pops in as a worshipper and then you don't recognize them.
Why?
It is in order, and there is nothing bad in recognizing a senator or maybe an MP or maybe an MCA.
Does recognizing mean that they stand up to speak, or does recognizing just say you acknowledge their presence?
We can as well allow them to speak, but with a warning. Yes.
So be guided or be guided even as you speak.
Yeah. We are inviting you to say hi to the church, but we are requesting you not to
bring politics.
Not to this to be a baraza or anything.
They've tried doing that many times, Stephen. You know that.
I think we'll be hard pressed.
Some are very wise.
Yeah.
They even come to church and they are given a third chance to speak, and they are very wise and they are very precise.
Yeah.
But if we rule them out, they are not allowed. Believe you me, it will be just something for the news. This is what this oversight, but it will be almost hard.
Thank you, Stephen.
Yes.
Asante sana. Have a lovely day. Jen in Nairobi, good morning.
Good morning, SpiceFM team.
Good morning, Jane.
Okay, now for me, I'm just, I don't even know why this discussion even comes out, because as Christians, I think we need to do some serious soul searching within ourselves. Why do we go to church? When that politician came to church, was he coming for political affairs or was he coming to worship? I know a few weeks ago, I think you had raised this topic again when you were asking whether politicians should be given an opportunity to speak in church.
Right.
And it reminded me of when President Mwai Kibaki when he was the president, and he would attend mass at Consolata Shrine.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, if depending on which side of the church you sat in, you would not even know that he was in that church, because he came to church as a worshiper, like any other Christian who was in that church, and not as the president of Kenya.
Yep.
And the parish council, the parish priest recognized that. And so when mass was over, it's only because of the dignity and because of his position that and security apparatus, coming into play, that he'll be given, the opportunity to walk out first or whatever. But there are people who would have been in that church and would not know that the president was present.
So he'd never speak in church.
He would never speak in church, would never, even the mention that he was present would not even be mentioned.
So he would come to worship like everybody else and go home.
Like everybody else. And I think he actually made it categorical. That one I know he actually discussed with the team and said, I come here as a Christian, as a normal worshiper. And even when he left, he would not even hang around saying hi to people. And people came to respect that, and he would leave. And people knew that. And this is what, for me, when I hear all these conversations, like now the previous speaker who's saying they should be given an opportunity. No. He came in as a worshiper. And this is where I think they're getting it so wrong. And all these confusions that we've had, because politicians, of course, they are politicians. And so whenever they get an opportunity, if there's a like a hole or a gap, they will make use of this, And this is what now, and because they know that churches are places that bring in a lot of people, they have used those kind of forums, And unfortunately, our church leaders have allowed themselves to get sucked up in this whole thing. I totally agree with the Archbishop of the ACK Church and the statement he said. I don't think there should be any argument about it. If anything, the pastors and all the people should go back to the drawing board and say, where did we go wrong?
Or what was our initial intention as places of worship?
What was our initial... And so this really should not even... No, let them come to church like any other worshiper. Even the recognition should not even be happening. You came to worship.
Thank you.
And if that was not your main agenda, please stay at home. I mean, our country is bleeding. We are all coming. We need some healing or whatever it is, and I think we just need to, just do things in the right manner. The church is a holy place. The altar is, sometimes for me, it pains me when I see these politicians being allowed to go up on the altar.
That's true.
Because even for me as a Christian, as a worshiper,
I'm not to go there. Thank you very much.
To go there. Okay, have a good day.
Thank you. Have a lovely day. This conversation, by the way, we will revisit in a couple of days. You will see. I completely agree with what Archbishop Ole Sapet is saying. You are a political leader. Go to church, leave church.
Sure.
We have, Mamangina, Uhuru, and the others, Mwai Kibaki, even Daniel Arap Moi, they went to church. Go to church, leave.
Learn, go.
That's it. On Sunday, you have gone to church. Now, if you want to have a function in church, you can ask the pastor to give you an opportunity and hold a function at the church compound on Wednesday.
That's different. Yeah, there you go, on Wednesday.
Not exactly.
The people who
not necessarily on Sunday. But we will revisit this conversation because even the same pastors are not going to heed.
Sheesh.
Thank you for tuning in to today's Situation Room. Today's proverb is from Ukamba. Moyo ndotua kilomoni. Moyo ndotua kilomoni. Good taste does not remain on the lip. Good things don't last. But let's just put it this way. No situation is permanent. Okay?
Word for the wise.
Whatever you're going through today, it'll change. Even for Archbishop Ole Sapit, no situation is permanent.
True. Good slip there. Very good.
Say goodbye.
Have a good day, folks. Let the conversations continue. Talk again at this time tomorrow.
Yes, indeed. A very good morning to you. Have a lovely day. It's now 10 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around